All right, so let's do this again. Let's do this again. The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, this is in fact the aftermath of Bruno Suras absolutely knocking out Jaime Munguia, and you may like it, you may not like it. It doesn't matter what you like. What did The Rock say? It doesn't matter what you think. All right, Jaime Munguia got absolutely positively exposed by Bruno Suras, exposed by the Frenchman, exposed by what he deserved. All right, because it's been years. Listen, you guys know the mo with Jaime Munguia in his career. It's been many years of careful matchmaking, avoiding certain competition, avoiding certain fighters, avoiding the best fighters in weight classes, not weight class, weight classes. It's been times where he's been getting gift decisions like Dennis Hogan in Mexico. So for this unknown Frenchman to go to Mexico and knock out Jaime Munguia, in his hometown in front of 20,000 plus, where he was really just brought in to be slaughtered. It's the stuff of legend. It's the stuff they make movies about. It's the stuff that we dream about as boxing fans. So God bless Bruno Suras, who showed the world, who's shown every fighter in the world and every person in the world that in that boxing ring, if you got it in your heart and your soul to compete at the highest level, to really give every piece of yourself in that ring to the sport, good things can happen to you. Good things, can happen to you, and you can change your life. So let it be an inspiration that anybody in boxing and outside of boxing, that anything is possible. You just gotta believe and execute when the time comes. So yeah, I'm happy to talk about this today. There's a lot of stuff going on in boxing. You got Inoue and Merja Akwadaliep going back and forth. We had other fights happen yesterday in the sport as well. And the comment section is on this time, so thank the Lord. I don't know what I did last time, but the comments are here. We got my man Lyndon Jones in the building. He says, "Okay, we're back. Good to see you." He says, "I'm surprised that happened, but I wasn't surprised at the same time." Well, yeah, of course, because you're surprised because of who did it. You're surprised because it's an unknown French guy who don't even have a big knockout ratio in his own weight class, which is middleweight, knocking out Jaime Munguia, who, relatively speaking, Munguia is normally a pretty durable guy. And the first time he gets dropped, he don't even beat the count. I mean, that was the shocking part. So, but you're not shocked because of how limited Jaime Munguia is defensively speaking. So that's what it is. And my man Holmes says Canelo and Munguia exposed. I mean, yeah, in a sense, it does kind of expose Canelo because Canelo should have stopped Munguia, and the fact that he didn't stop Munguia and light punching Bruno Suras did, it's kind of an indictment on Canelo. And honestly speaking, I mean, though for Bruno Suras, the world is his oyster. He can go on to, like, who knows, the possibilities are endless. Like maybe he's put his name in the mix for a Caleb Plant or Berlanga fight, because those are guys that wanted to fight Munguia. He beat Munguia. He put his name in the mix, to get more money if they do a rematch. Canelo might pick him because he beat a guy that Canelo couldn't knock out, so that maybe Canelo fights him. Maybe he can fight William Skull, the guy that they say is the weakest champion in boxing who has the IBF belt. Maybe he fights him. Maybe he goes down to 160 and becomes a legitimate, proper, like, real contender in his actual weight class. Who knows? But it's beautiful that this man, who we didn't know 24 hours ago, now has all these endless possibilities. This is what boxing is about. This is what, like, I got into this sport for, to cover moments like this, But it's crazy because yesterday, when all this happened, my phone wasn't even on. I was out and about in Japan. I went to the hot spring. I was eating, Japanese pastries and delicacies and just enjoying my Sunday. I had a long week. I was enjoying my Sunday, relaxing, getting ready for the new week. I didn't think that I was going to come back and see that Munguia lost to some guy we never heard of, but this is what he gets, because for so many years he was just getting spoiled and protected and spoon-fed. Getting $2 million to fight the Jimmy Kellys of the world. And I like Jimmy Kelly, but Jimmy Kelly, you shouldn't be getting paid $2 million to fight Jimmy Kelly. So this should be a learning lesson to all promoters and managers in boxing, that when you spoon feed and you protect and you manufacture a fighter, you may think you're bucking the system. You may think that you're getting over. You're not getting over. It'll come back. when you least expect it, and it'll be some French guy to knock you out. So let it be a learning lesson. Um, Hand History Vault, shout out to him. It's good to see him in the chat. He says, this is sad. Munguia threw the Canelo fight and then got destroyed by a nobody. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if he honestly, he probably did. It's very possible. With that much money involved, a fighter could always throw a fight. But I just don't think he was ever good enough to beat Canelo. Just being honest, he was always going to lose to Canelo, whether he threw it or not. But to actually get obliterated by Bruno Suras, who nobody heard of from France, that's the ultimate kicker. That's just poetic justice if I've ever seen it. Because this guy Munguia, and you guys know I was a Canelo hater at one point in time, like 3-4 years ago. But even at the peak of that, quote unquote hating Canelo Alvarez, I never let anybody tell me that this guy was as good as Canelo. I never let anybody even put their name in the same sentence as Canelo Alvarez, because he was never that skillful like Canelo Alvarez. He wasn't on that level. He ducked Demetrius Andrade. He ducked Johnny Beck. He only fought for the world title when he was able to fight against a blown up welterweight in Saddam Ali. And yeah, I had no respect for how he was moved his entire career. None. Zero. Zero. And I'm glad that he got knocked out by the most pillow-fisted European fighter they could find, because they thought they were bucking the system. They thought they were going to build towards Caleb Plant and Berlanga, but now he's got to rebuild. He got Bruno Suras problem, so, it is what it is. Take that Christian top rank, all right? Top rank, Zanford Promotions, Fernando Beltran. Take that Christian and Billy fight, fold it up about 15 ways, shine it up real nice, and stick it up your ass, because he's got Bruno Suras problems. That's the truth. So, yeah, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat. My man says, how you been, BT? I've been good, man. I've been enjoying Japan. I'm going to Tokyo on Wednesday. I got 2 really big interviews coming out on Wednesday. I'm not going to say who they are. I'll just say that one of them is I'll say that one of them is a champion right now from Japan, and I'll say the other one is very close to being a champion. But they're 2 really good interviews, so I'm excited for that on Wednesday. I'm excited to go back to Tokyo and do some stuff out there. Go to some gyms, things like that. So yeah, I've been loving. I've been great. Honestly, can't say I've enjoyed life any more than I have since I got here. Honestly, just peace of mind, recharging. I think I'm growing a love. I've not refound, but like I don't know what the word is, but I want to use here. But I've really just, I think, rediscovered. I'll say I've rediscovered to the deepest levels how much I love covering boxing. Because I felt like last 5-6 months between the last parts of being in South Florida and then moving to Vegas, I've been doing good. I've been doing my job. I've been being professional, but I felt personally like I've been going through the motions. So I'm enjoying myself, honestly. But shout out to everybody in the chat. My boy MAW, yes, smash that like. Listen, guys. There's 18 of you guys here. All right, there's 18 lovely boxing fans in the chat. Y'all were complaining for the longest time, for months on end. BT, you don't go live consistently anymore. We missed the lives. We missed talking to you. This, that, and the third. Don't be stingy with that like button. All right, hit that like button so the video gets pushed out to as many people as possible that don't watch that aren't subscribed to True School Sports yet. And that'd be great, because they need to hear the truth about Jaime Munguia. They need to hear the truth about Bruno Suras. They need to hear the truth about Merjan Inouye and everything else we're going to talk about here on True School Sports. They need all that. So smash that like button, please. There shouldn't be only 8 likes with 19 of you guys here. So, I appreciate it if you, please. What else we got? Who else we got here? Because the same thing happened to Jared. Yeah, the same thing did happen to Jared Anderson. He was fighting all these random people. But see, for Jared fought Martin Bacoli and got found out. Martin Bacoli was at least a high-level contender. Bruno Suras isn't even that. He was not even close to that. He wasn't even in the damn weight class, let alone being a contender in the weight class. So it's an upset of epic proportions, because I've seen cherry picks like this so many times. And cherry picks like this, they never go in the favor of the guy from France or Bulgaria or wherever they want to cherry pick the guy from in Europe. It always goes in the favor of who the A-side fighter is. So this is like a 1 in a million occasion. Salute to BT. What do you think about Charles Conwell's performance? I haven't had a chance to watch his performance in its entirety. I've only seen highlights. I was out yesterday. I didn't get a chance to watch another boxing, because in Japan the time zone is 14 hours ahead. 14 hours ahead in Japan. So When it was nighttime in the States, it was like the morning here. So I haven't had a chance to watch it. I still got to watch Roger Curiel. But I heard he looked good. Conwell is definitely a legitimate contender. And I think someone that, if Golden Boy is signing him, he should be getting a Virgil Ortiz fight sooner rather than later. So, good for him on winning. Off the ropes, boxing and MMA says you got to get you a chop, man. Yeah, I'm gonna get one this week. Well, when I'm in Tokyo. Yes sir, yes sir. Let me see who else we got here. Yeah, it was crazy that it was a one punch knockout. That's the craziest thing is that Munguia is durable. I've seen him take punches from Sergey Derevyanchenko, Eric Bazinian who can punch. I mean, he's fought some punchers in his career. Canelo. And this is the guy that knocks him out one punch. I mean, you gotta love boxing. It truly is the theater of the unexpected. Like you think you know what you're talking about, you think you know what's gonna happen, and then boom, you just get completely screwed in the head. It's definitely the biggest upset I've seen in the 10 years I've been covering boxing here on YouTube. Bigger than Anthony Joshua losing to Andy Ruiz. Bigger than just any upset, anything I can think of that I've made a video about on here over the years. Um, Canelo is the face of boxing when people are out here making Munguia's loss about him. LOL, you can't make that up, bro. Well, I'm not making it about Canelo. People in the chat were making it about Canelo. But what I can say about that is like naturally speaking, I don't think that's off base. That's not because Canelo's the face of boxing. That's because they have a common opponent, and Canelo is a highly regarded fighter. And people are trying to figure out how the hell could Canelo Alvarez, who's a future Hall of Famer and an undisputed 168 champion, how could he not knock out Jaime Munguia when he had him hurt early in the fight? But the guy from France who don't even punch hard in his actual weight class, you move him up to get slaughtered, and he knocks him out with one punch. I think it's a legitimate question. I think it's a legitimate question to ask. Because it's just crazy. And now Munguia, I think now we're gonna get a chance to see just how mentally like tough Munguia is because, like I said, Jaime Munguia has been a spoon-fed, protected, spoiled fighter. And thank you, Ezekiel. Thank you for your clarification. You said you didn't mean me. Thank you. All right, I appreciate that. Yeah, like now we're gonna see just what's in Munguia's soul. Now because his whole career he's had for the most part favorable circumstances. He's been able to punch up on these dudes because a lot of these fights have been mismatches, and nobody apart from Dennis Hogan. And Derevyanchenko, nobody really punched him back and knocked him out and put him in a position where now he's going to question himself confidence-wise, because a lot of times when a fighter gets knocked out, they always have that thing in the back of their head, that doubt. They don't tend to be as aggressive, and Munguia is an aggressive fighter. So if he's not as aggressive moving forward, it's going to be a hindrance to him. So we're going to really see. We're going to see. What do you think is a bigger upset, Surace over Munguia or your boy Angel Leo over Lopez? See, for me personally, I didn't think Angel Leo versus Venado Lopez was no big upset. In fact, I thought Angel Leo was a much better fighter than Venado Lopez. That's why when the fight got signed and I would see things like 4-1 odds, I'm like, this is crazy. This is ridiculous. There's no way you people think that Venado Lopez is this good compared to Angelo that you could have as a 4-1 underdog. And that's why if you go back and you watch my videos going into the fight, I specifically said I made a video the night before the fight, and I pretty much told everybody that Venado Lopez is gonna fucking get violated. I told anyone in boxing who will listen, I told them Venado Lopez is going to get violated. He better stop talking about Inoue. He better stop talking about Robesi. He better stop talking about Espinoza. Angel Leo is gonna fucking punch a hole through him, a million holes through him, and he's never gonna be the same. I even told not to like I don't wish this upon anybody, so I didn't wish this upon Venado Lopez, but I remember the night before the fight in the hotel lobby, I told someone from Pro Box, a good friend of mine from Pro Box, that Venado Lopez is gonna get sent to the hospital. I told someone from Pro Box that Venado Lopez is going to get sent to the hospital, and they got very mad at me. And then I wound up being proven right, which I wasn't happy to be right about. I don't wish that on the guy, but he wasn't training properly. He wasn't focused. He was completely disrespectful. And I knew because I was in camp. I was in Santa Fe with Angelo, and I knew what kind of work was being put in. So that's why I knew I was gonna be right about that one. But to answer your question in short, Bruno Suras is not only the biggest upset in boxing of this year, it's the biggest upset in boxing over the last 5 years. It is the biggest upset in boxing over the last 10 years. I would venture to say it is the biggest upset of the 21st century when you look at the circumstances. Jaime Munguia, if you if you just look at Munguia's last fight, he fought Eric Bazinian. Eric Bazinian's a good fighter. Eric Bazinian was a strong Armenian puncher. He can box. Good fighter. Munguia, I actually thought in the Bazinian fight showed some growth. Like he was patient in the middle rounds when Bazinian was coming on strong. He weathered the storm, and then he pressed him late and got a stoppage. I thought he actually showed an increase in IQ in that fight. But then he came here and he got knocked out by Bruno Suras. So Munguia had the trajectory of being a really good of really, he looked like he was getting better. He looked like he was on the pathway to being a guy that could be, once Canelo leaves the division, one of, if not the, maybe even the best super middleweight in the world. He looked like that, but he took his foot off the gas. He wasn't focused, and this guy knocked him out. So he got what he had coming to him. So like this guy came up from 160, wasn't even getting knockouts at 160. And I know boxing pretty well. Like, guys, I'm always up to my eyeballs on boxing. Like, this is my job. Boxing is my life. This is my job. So like, I'm always researching fighters. So I know a lot of random fighters from random countries. And I went on Bruno's record, and this is very rare. I went on Bruno's box rec. There was not one fighter on his record that I knew about. Not even a good journeyman. Not even a good gatekeeper. None of that. And so that's what makes it crazier, is that there was nothing, like there was not one thing on earth, there wasn't one thing on earth that would have suggested that this fight would even be competitive, let alone a knockout victory for Bruno Suras. Because Munguia this year, just in the 3 fights he had going into this fight, he stopped John Ryder, who was a credible 68-pounder. Had the Canelo fight, he lost that one. Came back and beat Bazzini, who was a very high level contender. Nothing suggested that he would have this much of a letdown. Nothing suggested on Bruno's resume that he would even be competitive, let alone win. So just with circumstance-wise, it's got to be the biggest upset of the decade, and in my opinion, of the 21st century. Since from 2000 to now, I can't think of one. If you guys can think of anything that comes close to this, please let me know. Please let me know of a guy from like a random country that doesn't produce champions and top fighters normally, that comes to Mexico and knocks out a Mexican fighter in his prime. I can't think of anything like this in boxing ever. It's a first. Now, is Suras upset bigger than Ruiz of AJ? Because I think it's a bigger upset than that, because even going into that fight, there was still people that I still remember a lot of people picking Andy Ruiz because he had a big amateur pedigree. Andy Ruiz had big amateur pedigree. He had fought Joseph Parker in a title fight before. People thought he actually won that fight. So there was already things Ruiz had done in his amateur career and in his professional career to give people hope that he could give Joshua a competitive fight. So that to me, as big of an upset as it was at the time, and it was huge. Like I remember it very, very well. It doesn't come close to this because Bruno Suras was not no highly touted amateur. He was not no Olympian. He was not a guy that fought, one of the top middleweights in a competitive fight for a title and lost. No. I really think Morales training Munguia will be good for him down the road. Well, they've had a couple stints together. I like Munguia's had a lot of trainers. He had early in his career, he had Robert Alcazar, who was the former amateur coach of De La Hoya. He had Robert Alcazar. He's had Freddie Roach. He's had Morales, because he went Alcazar, Morales, Roach, back to Morales. So he's been kind of all over the place, all over the place with trainers. And I don't believe in fighters changing their coach. I feel like as a fighter, you need to find a good chemistry. A trainer you respect, you find a good synergy with the coach, and you keep him, and you do as much as you can with that coach. And Munguia has just been going coach to coach to coach to coach, and before you know it, you got all these different ideas and information, and you don't know who you are as a fighter anymore. So, it's on him. Who is your favorite Slavic boxer? Be real and be true. My favorite Slavic boxer. So I'm not sure if Is Croatia considered a Slavic country? Because if it is, then I would say Filip Hrgović. That's my guy. Even though he lost to Dubois, that is still my favorite Slavic boxer. I don't know if that's considered Slavic. Is Slavic the Russian countries too? Because if it's like the Russian countries, then I'll say better Biev. Better Biev, Hergovich, them guys. I like those guys. Anybody not in the pound for pound shouldn't be fighting in their hometown. That's an interesting theory. Whether you're a pound for pound fighter or not a pound for pound fighter, I think fighting in your hometown is always hard because when you fight in your hometown, everyone's asking you for tickets at the last second. Everyone's asking you for that you're getting bombarded a lot. So a lot that's why I think fighters have a letdown when they fight in their hometown. But yeah, you're probably right. Maybe guys who haven't at least been undisputed or are not on the pound for pound list should not be fighting in their hometowns. But the thing is, Munguia, he fought Canelo, and he was a big star in Mexico before Canelo, and he had a fan base out there. So it all depends too on tickets. How many tickets can you sell? But the important thing is whether you're on the pound for pound list or not, you need to be focused and professional enough for those 12 rounds to go in there and put on a show and win for your hometown fans. And Munguia did not do that. So, and if I was in the position of Bruno Suras, or if I could be Bruno's manager here for a second, put my manager's hat on, I would not even take the Munguia rematch. Don't do the rematch. Like I would go to middleweight, and what's funny is Chris Mannix interviewed Bruno, and I guess he had asked Bruno about what does he think about doing the rematch with Munguia, and Bruno told Mannix, I'm a middleweight. So if he's smart, I would go to middleweight, your actual weight class where there's not as much smoke. It's a thinner division. You could now you have a name. Now people know who you are. That they know you as the French guy that knocked out Munguia. Go there, fight, do it. Fight a can in France while the iron is hot. Fight a can in France, get another win, and then maybe fight like a guy in the top 10. Fight him, and then go for a title shot like 3 fights from now. Do something like that. Unless, of course, there is exceptions. The only way I think he should stay at middleweight, or at 160 at super middleweight, is if he gets a call to fight William Skull for the IBF title, because William Skull is a very beatable champion. I think Bruno would have a chance to beat William Skull if he comes if he comes in the middle, if he comes to fight William Skull the same way he fought him on Gia, throwing punches with bad intentions and things like that. I feel like he could grind him down late and get a stoppage, and or maybe even outwork him, because William Skull doesn't have a great work rate. He fades in the back half of the fights. He showed it in the fight against Shishkin. So I think there's a chance that Bruno Suras could become the legitimate IBF super middleweight champion of the world, and then if he can win that fight, he's world champion. He fulfills his dream, and then he could parlay that into a Canelo Alvarez fight, which he's probably not. He's not supposed to be Canelo Alvarez. Let's be real. He's not supposed to be Canelo Alvarez. But again, he wasn't supposed to be Jaime Munguia. So who gives a damn? Anything is possible. You gotta believe. You gotta have faith. You gotta believe in your preparation. Believe in your training, and think big. Fight big. It's like Bruno got me fired up. Bruno has me fired up about life. Honestly. How could you watch what he did and not be fired up? Why isn't anyone chasing William Skull? I expected a lineup to face him with the mindset that they become the super middleweight undisputed champion. I have two theories about that. So number one, it's got to be one of two things. Either A, William Skull and his people at Argon Sports, that's the promotional company in Germany that promote him, they haven't actually went ahead and tried to make those fights with those fighters. They're being too difficult, or they're just maybe they're just waiting for a Canelo fight. I don't know. I don't know what they want to do. I heard there was rumblings that William Skull was supposed to fight maybe a Vladimir Shishkin in a rematch, but that hasn't been confirmed. I don't think they're gonna do that, because it was a really close fight. And I think him being in the hometown of his promoters in Germany, I think that benefited him, because had that fight been, let's just say, like in America or on neutral territory, I think Vladimir Shishkin might have got a decision, because he was the more precise power puncher throughout the fight, and William Skull was doing a lot of holding. Maybe in a different country he would have got deducted a point, but he was in his promoter's hometown, so it benefited him. So I don't know what's gonna happen with William Skull, but I'm actually shocked that we haven't seen like a Christian and Billy, a Pacheco, a Caleb Plant, a Berlanga. I'm surprised none of those guys have gotten on the phone and finalize that fight to go make it happen already. Because it's already been like what? It's been like 3 4 months. I'm just surprised we haven't heard anything about it from those guys. So yeah, I'm with you. Because when I made my post fight review video about that fight, that's what I said. I said that there was going to be a lineup to face that guy, and maybe there is behind the scenes, and it just hasn't been reported. But we haven't heard anything about it. So BT, how do you think Bruno does against Christian and Billy? It's a really good fight. And Billy is not the puncher Munguia is. Like he's not gonna be punching one punch wise. He's not punching like Munguia, but he has a higher work rate. It's just hard, man. It's hard to quantify completely what happened with Bruno because we haven't seen a whole lot of him. And then in the Munguia fight, he did get dropped in the second round, and he was losing pretty much all the rounds before he got the knockout, except maybe the fifth, because he had some moments in the fifth where he was throwing some punches with bad intentions and then they were landing. But I think we just gotta see more Bruno. Like I want to see more of him. So make if they wanna make the Billy fight, I think if Bruno comes the way he fought against Munguia, he's gonna have a chance because Billy is going to give him plenty of counter punching opportunities. And Billy is going to be in his chest the whole fight. I think that fight for Bruno is just going to be about staying in shape and being able to punch in between the shots and get his respect because maybe I don't know, man. Maybe Bruno can actually punch. Maybe like because he knocked out Munguia, who's pretty durable. Maybe Bruno's knockout ratio is low because his record has a lot of journeymen. And one thing I know about these journeyman fighters, especially these journeyman fighters from Europe, like England and in Germany and Belarus and all these random places where you don't really think about boxing, these guys aren't necessarily like talented fighters in terms of like their punching power or skills or speed or anything like that. But one thing these journeymen know how to do in them countries, like France and Belarus and Belgium and England, these guys know how to survive. They know how to survive, get through the fight, not get knocked out, so they don't get suspended, and they can get the next fight and get more paydays. They know how to survive. So maybe that's why Bruno. Maybe that's a good reason why Bruno Suras only had 4 knockouts because looking at him fight Munguia, he can punch. It's clear to see he can punch. His mechanics look good. He was turning the shots over. It has to be because maybe he just didn't have the craft to stop those journeymen, and they weren't opening up enough to give him the knockout. But Munguia defensively is a lot as crazy as it sounds. Munguia and a lot of aggressive fighters can be more leaky than these journeymen in Europe that don't open up at all. They don't open up at all. Their defense is actually pretty good, and they know how to survive, and they can take it, and they can take a punch. So that's why you gotta respect journeymen. You gotta respect these journeymen because they may not have the skills, they may not have the promotional backing, but they know how to take a punch, and they have a competent enough defense to survive and get to the next payday. So that's my theory. I'm gonna go with that. I think Bruno Suarez's knockout ratio is low because he fought a lot of journeymen who just know how to survive. I have to believe that because what I saw in the Munguia fight was a guy who can punch, who had decent mechanics. Like they're not perfect mechanics punching wise, but he turned the shots over well enough to generate power, and I gotta believe that he can punch a little bit. I got to. You have to. So sometimes in boxing, not many times, but sometimes a KO ratio can be deceiving, and I think this might be one of them times. I'm not saying he's a knockout artist, but he can punch. I always thought Pacheco had a better technique than Munguia. Yeah, Diego Pacheco is a better fighter. I mean, I remember he's not here right now, but my boy Jairo Galvez, who's always in the chat talking nonsense, who was dick riding Jaime Munguia, who was telling me for a year and a half, 2 years, BT, nobody's beating Munguia. He's in his real weight class now, 168. I would tell Jairo all the time, Pacheco is much better than Jaime Munguia. And I remember when Eddie Hearn was talking about Pacheco fighting Munguia after Pacheco knocked out Sulecki in his last fight. And a lot of people were saying that fight's too early for Diego Pacheco. And I'm like, are you crazy? Diego Pacheco would beat the freaking brakes off Jaime Munguia. He's too leaky. And Pacheco would just get full extension on his punches and eventually knock him out. And Bruno Suras, I mean, I'm not giving Pacheco credit for a fight he didn't win, but like Bruno Suras showed us that it's very possible that scenario could have played itself out. So, yeah, man. Ken Bun Torres from Mexico knocked out Raymar Capaya in the Philippines. So Munguia needed to be knocked out at home because the universe needed to be at balance. That's funny. I didn't even know about that. So I'm gonna check that fight out. Ken Bun Torres, Raymar Capaya. I'm gonna check that fight out and probably do a video about it because Raymar Caballo is a good fighter. I remember in the early years of me covering boxing here on YouTube, like 2019, no, 2018 actually. Raymar Caballo headlined a show in South Florida at the Hard Rock, and he fought Stephon Young. That was a WBA eliminator, I think. I was at that fight. I covered that fight. So I remember, and Raymar's fought Manuel Rodriguez. He's fought Donaire. So he's a good fighter. Good fighter. Been a contender at bantamweight for a while. So I'll check out that fight. Ken Bun Torres. Do you think Munguia did not take him seriously? I can't really say that he didn't take him seriously because he didn't stop. He did drop him in the second round with a very beautiful left hook. I think he did take him seriously, which makes it even worse. I think he just had a defensive lapse and he got caught with a good shot. It's boxing. It can happen to anybody. Anyone, like what happened to Munguia could happen to anybody. It could happen to Inoue. It could happen to Crawford. It could happen to Canelo. It could happen to anyone. Anyone who you guys think is unbeatable that's at the top of boxing, that same scenario that happened to Munguia could happen to those guys. It could happen to Angelo Leo, you know. It could happen to anybody, you know. And I understand these things. So it's not like the most surprising thing. It's just surprising that it's surprising about the guy who did it. And this punk William, you're out of here, champ. You want to come in here? You want to talk that shit? Hold on. Where's the block button? Hide user. You out of here, champ. Do you think who in the 90s heavyweights era do you think had the best resume of accomplishments? I say Evander Holyfield. He beat Mike Tyson twice. Foreman, Larry Holmes. To me, are the biggest names. If we're just talking resumes, I would say Holyfield because Holyfield fought them all. Like he fought everyone. He even has a win over Riddick Bowe, which Lennox Lewis didn't get a chance to fight Riddick Bowe because Riddick Bowe's management team and Lewis's management team, they couldn't come to an agreement. There was a bunch of ridiculous stuff going on both sides, and Bowe had the incident where he threw the belt in the trash. So yeah. Are you concerned that they might rob Usyk to set up the trilogy? Yes, that's a very possible scenario. Turkey loves the heavyweight division, so it's possible. I hope whoever goes ahead and wins this fight, whether it's Fury or Usyk, I hope it's by knockout. I don't want any disputes because I would like the heavyweight division to move forward after this fight. I would like the winner of Parker Dubois to be able to push on towards bigger and better things and not have their career stymied or ruined by a controversial fight between Usyk and Fury. True TV says, never bet large amounts of money on heavy favorites. It's terrible. And I agree. You might think it's a sure thing betting $3,000 to win $100. And then Bruno Suras messes everything up for you. AMG Fresh says, does Michael Moore enter the chat? Michael Moore definitely does enter the chat. I think so. Michael Moore was great. He was lineal heavyweight champion. He beat Holyfield. Got knocked out by Foreman, but was winning that fight. So you got to put him in there. Definitely one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time. I'll tell you this, Michael Moore at light heavyweight, because people always know about Michael Moore for heavyweight and beating Holyfield and getting knocked out by Foreman, but Michael Moore, the light heavyweight, I think would have given Arts a great run for his money, maybe even beating him. He was that great at light heavyweight. And Bivol too, People say Bo ducked Lewis. I don't think so. I don't think he ducked Lewis because I've done my research deeply on that fight and I've interviewed Bo about it plenty of times, and I think it's a combination of things. I think Rock Newman made things very difficult because Rock Newman was difficult, but also Lewis's manager Frank Maloney, he was dumb too. Like he was dumb because he would they would make Lennox an offer, and then as soon as Bo would turn it down, or as soon as Lennox would turn it down. When Rock Newman would try to move on to go to something else, then they would say, "Oh, well, no, we'll fight for this." It was a whole big thing. You gotta do your research on that whole fight. Any prospects in Japan that should get more attention while you've been there? Yeah. Suzumi Takayama from the super flyweight division. He's really good. I think he's gonna be in the running for a title shot in 2025. He's really good. You have, what was his name? What was the guy's name? Kazuki Nakajima, who just got a big knockout the other night on Japanese television. He's a bantamweight fighter. Where else? What are the fighters from Japan? There's a lot of them. There's a lot of guys from Japan. Those guys come to mind right now. I'm blanking out with those guys. Those guys come to mind. You got Osakai 7-0-1, 100, I think he's a light flyweight, 108 pounder, southpaw, very fast, slick defense, punching power. I mean, some people on YouTube have even called him the next Inoue, which I think is a bit extreme, but he's very talented. So those three come to mind. Um, but shout out to everybody here. It's your boy BT, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. Going live, trying to make sense of this whole Bruno Surace, Jaime Munguia fight. Make sure you smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we're really close to hitting 83,000, and I'm trying to get as close to 85,000 before the year ends. So do that. Definitely, if you're feeling what I'm saying, if you're enjoying the boxing talk, if you've been enjoying the content, definitely super chat, all that good stuff, and get your questions in, and let me know. Let me know where you guys are watching from, what city, what state, what continent, what country. Rep your cities and states and countries down below. We here. Where are the white girls? They're definitely not here in Japan. I'll tell you that. What are your thoughts on Doheny moving up to 126 to face Nick Ball for the WBA title? I have mixed feelings about that fight because Doheny is a good fighter. Um, Doheny is a very good fighter. Definitely he was a champion at 122. I respect Doheny. He's fought tough competition. But the thing is, Doheny has not done anything at featherweight. He's done everything at everything he's done has been at 122 in his career. And he's coming off of a loss to Inoue, and he's not ranked in the featherweight rankings, and they're bringing him up in weight. So as much as I don't want to say it's a cherry pick, because Doheny is a good fighter, and this could very well be a tough fight for Nick Ball, because he will fill out better, and he will rehydrate better, and he might even be punching harder, which is scary, and Nick Ball don't got great defense. It is an attempted cherry pick, because when you consider how deep the featherweight division is, if you just look at the WBA rankings and the guys ranked like number 1, 2, and 3, you got guys like, Bruce Carrington there. You got guys like Mirko Cuello from Argentina, who I really think you guys got to pay attention to. He's a very dangerous fighter. He's ranked number 2. You got guys like Odabek Komatov who are there, who I'm sure will love to fight him. And the list goes on and on and on and on of just guys he could have fought. But not only did he not fight anybody in the top 15, not only is he not trying to fight one of the other champions, he's not even fighting a guy in the weight class. So based on that, it's a cherry pick. But it's a cherry pick that could very wind up turning into a cherry pick gone wrong, because Doheny has a lot of experience. He's faced harder punchers than Nick Ball. Nick Ball's defense is leaky. And if Doheny feels comfortable at the weight and he's strong and he's not sluggish, Ball might be in some big trouble, honestly. Nick Ball is a big duck. I mean, I won't say he's ducking any of the champions, because I know that Angelo Leo has this fight with Tomoki Kameda that's supposed to come up, so he's unavailable. Figueroa is unavailable because he's fighting Fulton, and Espinosa just fought, so he can't fight none of the champions. But there was plenty of guys in the top 15 of the WBA he could have fought. So yeah, man, we got New Jersey in the building. Shout out to New Jersey, Essex County, Toledo by way of Detroit. Okay. Brooklyn's in the house, the home of Richard Hitchens. Yes, sir. Okay. Spain. Okay, Spain. Shout out. Listen, I've never been to Spain. I've always wanted to go to Spain, because I'm from South Florida. I'm from the Miami, like Fort Lauderdale area, South Florida. And I've met so many people from Spain, especially the women. I love women from Spain. I think that's one of the most beautiful women in the world. I've always wanted to go to Spain, so that's on my bucket list. But shout out to Spain. Shout out to my guy Barack out there in Spain. He says, I love your channel. Man, I'm also a huge fan of Japanese boxing. Thank you, and I appreciate you enjoying the channel, and I love Japanese boxing too, as you can tell. And somebody asked me earlier, how long have I been in Japan? I got to Japan on November the 4th or 5th. I think the 5th. I got here November the 5th. So I've been here now over a month. Yeah, and because what is it? What's today? 17th. So I've been here about a month and a half, and I'll be here for like another month and a half. So yeah, I've been really enjoying Japan, and there's a lot more to see, and a lot more to do, and a lot more interviews to get, and it's really going to be revving up here these next 2 weeks, going to interview these Japanese champions in Tokyo. I'm going to Tokyo on Wednesday. You got Kazuto Ioka versus Puma Martinez on New Year's. You got Ampo versus Ryan Garcia, which I'm probably going to be at as well. And there's a bunch of other Japanese shows in January as well that I'm probably gonna wind up going to. So yeah, stay just guys, just stay tuned. So much more is in store. We got Australia in the building. Okay, Australia, Canada, yes sir. Barack says I don't think Odebek will be able to make the weight at 126 much longer. And you're probably right. That's a big concern for me because I remember Odebek used to train in South Florida right by me, and so I've seen Odebek spar hundreds and hundreds of rounds. Um, And I know that he's had a hard weight cut even before the Raymond Ford fight, and the Raymond Ford fight was back in March. So I think it might actually be better for Odebek to go to 130. 130 is actually a less stacked weight class than featherweight. I think he'd have a better chance to win a world title there, and he'd be stronger. And Odebek lost to Raymond Ford fair and square. I think Raymond Ford was weight drained, and I think Odebek was weight drained. So it was an even fight. But I don't think I think if Odebek could fight at 130 and be more rehydrated, we would see more of the real Odebek Komatov. Um, that's my opinion, but we'll see. When did Brandon Figueroa become the champion at 126? So he became the WBC champion a couple months ago. Not He didn't win a fight to get the belt. They elevated him to become champion because Ray Vargas was dragging his feet and Brandon Figueroa had been the interim champion forever. So he got elevated and now he's fighting Stephen Fulton for that belt in their rematch in February. Tim Bradley kind of crapped on Navarrete, claiming that he's never fought slick black dudes. Has he fought any slick black fighters? I don't think he has. I think he's right. I think that's probably a valid point. I can't think of any right now. He fought a slick Ukrainian. You saw how that went. So, it's possible that it probably goes something similar if he fought maybe one of these black fighters. But that's kind of par for the course with a lot of these Xanafer Promotions fighters like Fernando Beltran, the promoter there. They all do that with their fighters. Like Oscar Valdez didn't fight anybody black till he fought Shakur. William Zepeda hasn't really fought. Let me see. Did he fight anybody black before Tevin Farmer? Not that it matters, but I'm just saying, like, did he fight anybody black before Tevin Farmer? I can't think of any. Maybe he did, but I can't think of any right now. They move like Xanper Promotions. They move their fighters so carefully. It's ridiculous. Zoto Ramirez, like, I like Zoto Ramirez. I'm a Zoto Ramirez fan, but like, even him for a time, they're moving him very carefully. Am I related to anybody in Japan? No, I'm not, but I do have some friends in Japan. I've made a lot of friends through boxing in Japan, so it makes it really exciting. It's so cold, so I was saying Stone Cold. Yeah, but Pacheco's fighting him. I'll be honest. I know who Steven Nelson is because he's with Terrence Crawford all the time. Um, I know he can punch, but I can't even lie to you guys and say that I've seen Steve Nelson fight a lot. So I gotta go do some more homework on So Cold. Nah, Munguia ain't gonna retire, but he's such a waste of TV coverage. Just jam that dude down. They did. They really did because they saw what Canelo could do. So yeah, they figured they would try to manufacture the next Canelo, and that's not what he is. He didn't have the skills to do that. Um, Good TV fighter. I'll say it like that. Chavez and Barrera fought all the black. They did. They did. Chavez couldn't fight enough black fighters. He fought with Roger Mayweather, Frankie Randall, Pernell Whitaker. I mean, he fought the who's who. Um, yeah, these days in boxing, it's kind of the opposite at times. I'm not saying all the Mexican fighters, but some like the less skilled ones, that the promoters know aren't as skilled as like Canelo. They just kind of like, I don't. It seems because Oscar. I mean, I like Oscar, but he didn't really fight none of the black fighters till he fought Shakur. Zapata, he fought. Who did he fight? He fought Tevin Farmer, and that didn't go well for him. Even though he won. So I mean, I'm not trying to make it a race thing, but to respond to the person's point, it is a thing. Munguia wasn't a good TV fighter because he didn't take challenges. You're right. You're actually right because a good TV fighter, like the pinnacle of being a TV fighter would be like Mickey Ward. Mickey Ward is like the best TV fighter ever. Like him, Gotti, those are the best TV fighters. That's the gold standard for being a good TV fighter. A good TV fighter in this day and age would be like Subriel Matias would be a good TV fighter. You know, and he's fought some tough challenges in his career. So if you're looking at it from that standpoint, yeah, he probably wasn't even as great as he could have been as a TV fighter because he didn't even fight the best challenges. So his fight with Derevyanchenko was good, but that was it. I mean, yeah, I mean, because I remember like he fought with Demetrius Ballard, Derevyanchenko, Jimmy Kelly, Saddam Ali, Dennis Hogan, Takuma Inoue, or not Takuma. Takashi Inoue was a good fight. Takashi Inoue, but those aren't like those guys I'm naming. Liam Smith was good. Those guys I'm naming, those are not the best guys he could have fought. Just like how some fighters are neutral trainers and people that make their food, more should find some good and consistent farm products. So I'm kind of confused, but yeah, I think fighters should eat the best food they possibly can find. Man, I could fight Munguia next. Write me a check and I'll knock him out. Yeah. Am I leaving Japan soon since the fight was scheduled? No. I'll be here till the end. I'll be here till probably February, like the February, like early February. I'm not leaving until probably early February. So I'll be thankfully, I will be here just long enough. I swear on my life, if Inoue tear his bicep or Sam Goodman pull out because he hurt his pinky or something, I'm gonna crash out because last time I came to Japan, I had booked my stuff to come when they first had Inoue Fulton scheduled, and Inoue tore his bicep like about a month before I was supposed to come to Japan, but I had everything booked and I couldn't change it, so I came here, couldn't see him fight that time, and then they fought in July. Now now this happened, so if I get a third postponement, because every other fight he had in between Fulton and this fight, there was never postponements, there was never anything crazy. If I get another postponement, I'm gonna crash out for real. No, the Takashi Inoue fight was at 151, 154. He was still that was I'm gonna say that was the latter stages of 154. So yeah, I'll say that. He ducked so many tough fights. Yeah, he did. He did. I mean, like the Andrade one is the most notable, and I vividly remember in late 2021 when I interviewed the president of Golden Boy Promotions, Eric Gomez, about that fight, and I'm like, why haven't you guys tried to make the fight happen with Andrade and Munguia? And then he said, why don't he make us an offer? And like the way he responded, it was like the tone and the language of someone that wasn't eager to try to make that fight. And then I also vividly remember in 2021 talking to Roberto Diaz, the matchmaker of Golden Boy, and I was telling him make the Andre fight on Instagram in the DMs. We were going back and forth, and he was pretty much telling me that they don't want that fight. They can go that they want to fight Golovkin, they want to fight Canelo, they want to fight those guys. That they weren't looking for that fight. So it's ridiculous. But shout out to everybody here. It's your boy BTD Untouchable True School Sports Empire. We're live here, getting our Monday here in Japan kicked off right. I think it's probably still Sunday in the States, or maybe it's early Monday in the morning. I'm not sure what time it is in the States. If you guys could drop the time and date down below, that'd be great because I get my time zones mixed up here in Japan. But yeah, it's Monday the 16th here in Japan. It's probably still Sunday the 15th in America. But yeah, a lot went on in boxing yesterday. I mean, we had Raul Cordial versus Alexis Rocha, which I still haven't watched yet. And, I saw some highlights. Ended in a draw. And funny enough, like, Alexis Rocha was saying that he was going to show Cordial levels. But if they're in there both getting a draw, then that means they're probably both on the same level. You know what? Funny enough, since we're talking about good TV fighters, I think pound for pound, like if we were to do a good pound for pound list of TV fighters, and maybe this could be a video. You guys let me know if this should be a video. If we were ranking fighters in boxing, like TV friendly fighters in boxing, I think Alexis Rocha is a better TV fighter than Jaime Munguia. That's what I think. I think he's taking on tougher challenges. He's actually been in some really entertaining fights with Giovanni Santillan, Blair Cobbs. He's an honest fighter, like an honest, like blue collar TV fighter, and I think he represents the archetype of what a TV fighter actually is more than Jaime Munguia. Robbed by 1 point. I'm done down talking Rocha. He showed character. So you guys are saying that you think Alexis Rocha won the fight and Raul Cordial was lucky to get a draw? Is that what I'm hearing correctly from you guys? I like Raul Cordial. I wasn't really sure what to make of him. Like as far as his ceiling, I mean, I thought he was a solid fighter. I didn't necessarily look at Raul Cordial as like a future world champion, but I thought he was a guy that could be a top contender. But if he's having draws at Rocha, who's on his best night, Rocha is probably a guy that you probably say is a lower top 10 fighter at the welterweight. That's on his best night. But yo, wow. So you guys are saying Rocha won. So I gotta definitely go ahead and watch that because Raul Cordial was the fighter that a lot of people thought were gonna win. This was supposed to be Raul Cordial's coming out party because this is a guy that for years on Golden Boy Promotions cards, they were talking him up. They were talking him up as the next big fighter from Mexico. I actually covered one of his fights in 2021 because he fought Raul Cordial fought on the undercard of Gilberto Zorro Ramirez and Unieski Gonzalez. He was on the undercard. He fought Kendo Castaneda on a fighter that was really and truthfully Kendo Castaneda was more a natural 140 pounder, but he had been taking fights at 47 because I guess the money was good and Curiel knocked him out, which a lot of people don't do. A lot of guys that Kendo fought don't knock him out. So it was a good win at the time. But I remember being in the press conference and I remember asking a question while Raul Curiel was at the podium, and the question I had asked back in 2021 to Raul Curiel was, the way I asked it was, there's a lot of fighters in Golden Boy Promotions, a lot of welterweights like Blair Cobbs, Alexis Rocha, Virgil Ortiz. Is there any plans to match Raul Curiel with these guys in the next year? And I remember when I asked that question, Curiel gave me a very political answer. And the Golden Boy staff, the matchmakers, the PR lady, they gave me like a real funny look, like I wasn't supposed to ask that question. So maybe back then that should have been an alarm in my head that they were, that there was a reason why they looked at me like that. I don't know. Munguia versus Suras is very reminiscent of when Japanese journeyman Nobuhiro Ishida took James Kirkland's. Oh, that's a very good shout. That's a very good mention. That's one that I forgot about. Yeah, that was a big upset at the time because Kirkland was a top fighter. Yeah, you could say this is like that. I agree. True TV says I love Mexican fighters for real, but I'm never betting on Mexican fighters again. They lose a lot, sloppy. I think Slavic, Asian, black fighters are the best bets. Well, those fighters you all named, all the Slavics, the Asians, and the blacks, traditionally speaking, they all tend to be the most fundamentally sound. As to where with a lot of the Mexican fighters, their style is very come forward, gunslinging, throwing a lot of punches. So they can lose to counter punchers or sluggers a lot. Johnny Beck was dying to face Munguia. This live is mostly about Munguia. I found it hilarious that after he called out Jamal Charlo, after he called Charlo a pussy, knowing damn well Charlo wasn't active. Yeah, I mean, it's par for the course with Munguia and how they are. He should have been calling out Andrade. Andrade would have beat the brakes off Jaime Munguia. What did you think about John? I haven't watched the Golden Boy card because I was out and about yesterday when the fights are going on. So when I have an opinion on Scrappy and all the Golden Boy fights, I will either drop a video or I will drop a short. So stay tuned for the videos and or shorts on those fighters in that card. After some of Johnny Beck's recent performances, I thought Munguia would have won that fight. After witnessing last night, I changed my mind. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So that's crazy. That's crazy. You guys saying Alexis Rocha got robbed or probably deserved a decision. That sucks. I wish they would have gave it to him because Rocha's been through a lot in his career and he, for all the complaining and bitching and mourning that I do about weight classes like lightweight and welterweight, he's actually been one of the few fighters in boxing that's done things the right way, that's done things the honest way. He's fought like good competition. He fought Rashidi Ellis. He fought Blair Cobbs. He fought Curiel. He's fought Santillan. Hasn't always come out on top in those fights, but he's shown that ability. and that willingness to take those fights. And I remember when I interviewed Alexis Rocha in 2022 after the Blair Cobbs fight, I asked him, I said, would you fight Jaron Ennis? And he said, of course I would. And he's actually one of the few guys that, like, in the welterweight division, I feel he definitely would. Maybe Golden Boy wouldn't let him fight Ennis, but I have zero doubt in my mind that he's one of the few fighters in the welterweight division that I have zero doubt in my mind would fight anybody, anywhere, any place, anytime. Alexis Rocha is and has been a net positive for boxing. He's been good for boxing, so shout out to him. I like him a lot. Shout out to my man 12. He says, what up? What up? Good to see you, champ. Shout out to everybody. Hey, listen, man, we got 36 of y'all here, and I only got 20 likes. Come on, that's how you gonna do me? You guys gonna do me like that? Smash the like button, man. Smash the like button. Do all that, so this live gets pushed out to more people that don't watch True School Sports, because I'm gonna be here for like 1 hour or more. I'm gonna be here for a whole another hour talking boxing, answering y'all's questions. You know, we're gonna talk some Inoue Akhmadaliev soon, because I have quite a lot to say about Inoue Akhmadaliev. But yeah, run it up. By the end of this live, I want to have like at least 45 to 50 likes. So let's make that to go 45 to 50. Smash that like button. Pound for pound number one right now is Arts Better BF for real. Maybe Usyk close, but other than that, nah. I'm not against Better BF being pound for pound number one, because I feel like part of my criteria when I judge pound for pound is he's one of the most dominant fighters in boxing. He might even be the most dominant fighter in boxing over the course of his whole career. And level of dominance is probably like one of the top things I use for when I do my personal pound for pound list. I don't have Better BF number one on my pound for pound list personally. Right now, I think for me, the guy that is pound for pound number one is actually Alexander Usyk. I'd have Better BF like number 4, and I'd have Better BF. I'd have Better BF 4, Bivol 5. Crawford would be 3, Inoue would be 2, and Usyk would actually be number 1. Just because I think Usyk has gone undisputed in stronger weight classes than Inoue and Crawford did. He's done a better job at clearing out those weight classes than Inoue and Crawford did. And yeah, that's what I think. When I used to claim Rocha was catered to and overexposed, I just thought he was being prioritized over better fighters. Well, I could definitely see why you thought that, but a lot of times, David, it's not just it's sometimes it's not that fighters are being over prioritized. It's just that some fighters are more willing to get in the ring and fight whoever, and he's just one of them guys. He does not give a fuck about who they offer him. He's going to fight whoever they offer him. He's a real blue collar fighter, and I think boxing fans should get behind a fighter like Alexis Rocha more. You know. He deserves his credit. He deserves his accolades. We know Alexis Rocha is not as skilled as Terrence Crawford or Virgil Ortiz or Jaron Ennis, but you know what? He's better for boxing than a lot of those guys, because he's willing to fight anybody, any one of those guys. And he's been in more entertaining fights than a lot of those guys. BT Rocha is willing in my opinion too, genuine fighter, and he welcomes work. He welcomes whoever. You know, I love Alexis Rocha. Did you see Picasso? I know he fought, but no, I didn't see him fight. How did Picasso look? Because I know he's the front runner to get the Inoue fight in America. And my man said, "I'm glad I caught this live, because you do be having the goods though, bro. Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad everybody's here." Rocha is solid. Can he beat elite champions? I don't know. And you know what? I don't know, but you know what? So I don't really care, because not everybody is meant to be champion. Like, who cares if Rocha can become a champion or be a champion? He's fun to watch, and he fights the best. And that's literally what people always bitch and moan that their favorite fighters don't do. You know, so yeah, give me Alexis Rocha versus Jin Sasaki. Give me Alexis Rocha, Santillan, the rematch. Give me Alexis Rocha versus Brian Norman Jr. Give me them fights. You know, he deserves it. Give me the Gutierrez rematch as well. Picasso won the fight in 3 rounds. He won with a... Okay, well, good for him. That's what he needs to do going into a fight, going into a potential 2025 where he could be getting an Inoue fight. So good for Picasso, you know. I don't personally like rate him the highest as a fighter. I've seen him fight 2 times. I saw him fight against Azar Hovhannisyan, and then I saw him fight against the very tough journeyman Eric Ruiz. And he was decent. Like he wasn't. No, I'm not gonna sit here and be disrespectful and call him a can or a bum or nothing like that. He wasn't no A+ fighter, but he's a game fighter. Comes forward and he looks to make the fight in the center of the ring, in the pocket, high volume guy, body puncher. I got solid. He's pretty much what you would expect from a all action Mexican fighter. So that's what it is. It's like all the fighters who fight all the good fighters do not get the proper endorsement, and that kills me. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like one thing that really makes my skin crawl when I go on Twitter or I go on YouTube or anywhere where they talk about George Kambosos Jr. is when boxing fans start talking about how George Kambosos Jr. has been losing all these fights. Like he lost to Devin Haney, he lost to, he got a gift against Maxie Hughes when he lost to Lomachenko, right? But you know what George Kambosos Jr. has done? He's done what boxing fans say they want their fighters to do. They say they want the fighters to fight the best fighters back to back to back to back. George Kambosos Jr. has fought the best fighters that he could possibly fight in its weight class available to him back to back to back to back. And people had the audacity to flap their gums and disrespect the guy. And like that doesn't sit well with me. He doesn't get proper endorsements. Alexis Rocha fights all the top like many of the top welterweights. He doesn't get the proper endorsements. You guys, and I know people get annoyed. People get annoyed when I bring up Angelo Leo's name, but like he's fought 4 times in a year. He fought on Pro Box. Like he humbled himself. He took short money to like this is a fighter that made 6 figures in his career. He's made 100,000 plus in his career before, and went to Pro Box and made like 100 times less than that because he believed in his skills. And he was fighting active, had one loss to Stephen Folan, who was a great fighter. And I still don't think he's getting his proper endorsements because he's not out there talking trash. He's not out there talking shit. None of that stuff. Who else is there? You get a guy like even like a guy like British boxers, like an Isaac Chamberlain, not a world class A+ fighter. But Isaac Chamberlain's fought the who's who of the cruiserweight division, and people want to talk down on him. I see it so much in boxing, and it really pisses me off because people say they want fighters to fight the best, but the minute those same fighters start fighting the best and take a couple losses, now they're trash. Now they're bums. Those fighters need to be applauded and lauded and praised. Fighters should only say I only say a fighter gets exposed if they try to maneuver and try to calm the public, like Munguia, like Canelo at a time, Shout out to my boy MAW with the first super chat. He says subscribe, share, and smash that like button. Yes, thank you so much, champ. Listen to what he says. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. I'm trying to hit 83,000. I'm trying to get to as close to 85,000 before the year ends. So please help me with that. And then obviously you guys know that 100,000 ain't too far away. I'm trying to get the plaque. I want to get the 100,000 silver play button. When I get to 100,000 at some point, I'm gonna have big parties. We're gonna have the 100,000 subscriber celebration in South Florida. We're gonna have it in Vegas, and we might even come to Japan. No way. No way. So my man, my boy Fam says, BT, I think you're cursed. Ryan Garcia versus Rukia Ampo has been postponed due to Garcia obtaining a wrist injury. Of course, Ryan. This is ridiculous, guys. Every time I'm in Japan, every single fight that I want to go to gets postponed. Inoue Fulton last year, now this, Inoue Goodman. I swear on my life, if Ioka versus Puma Martinez gets postponed, I'm going to crash out for real. Because this is ridiculous. I was supposed to cover Ryan Garcia versus Ampo. I was. Because one of the guys from Ryzen actually watches the channel when he watched one of the lives and he got in touch with me and I filled out the press pass and everything. I was going to get credentialed to go. And I guess I'm not going now because now there is no Ryan Garcia versus Ampo. So this is bullshit. Is there a postponement date yet? Let me know if there's a postponement date yet because this is ridiculous. Kambosos earned his money regardless how anyone feels about him. At least he fights the best available. Yeah, and he didn't just fight the best available when he became champion. He was fighting good fighters as a contender. He fought former world champions like Mickey Bay, would go to the backyard. Fought Mickey Bay. Um, fought a couple guys. Mickey Bay. Who else did he fight? Mickey Bay, and then I can't remember who else he fought, but he fought like before he fought Teofimo Lopez, he had fought like two former world champions back to back. You know, good live competition. And yeah, Angelo is a dog for sure. 12 says, bro, your time is coming. You're going to land something great. Watch. All right, well, thank you, man. Hold on, let me screenshot that. Thank you, man. He says you're gonna be great. You're going to land something great. Just watch. I appreciate it, man. I'm not really I'm not really trying to land anything great. Like I really just want to enjoy what I'm doing here and make True School Sports as big as possible. And I want it to be a place for the hardcore boxing fan to get their news, and I want it to be somewhere that makes a difference in boxing. And I want to leave boxing a better place than I found it when I started covering it. So that's my goal, to cover boxing and really capture the spirit of boxing and the essence of boxing and what's going on in boxing at that present time in its purest and best form. And I think I'm doing a good job at that. So thank you. I watch you a lot, bro. I like your style. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone. Like there is no True School Sports. There is no BT. There is no Untouchable. There is no popularization of the word exposed without the fine viewers of True School Sports. So thank you guys. BT, I think you have some hidden power. Imagine what you could accomplish at a political level. What do you mean by that? Could you elaborate on that? What do you mean by that? And why do you say that? Um, Bakram Murtaladzev and Bruno Suras had the biggest upsets, had the biggest wins of the year. Yeah, I think Bakram was a huge upset too, because even though he was a ranked fighter, he was very unknown. He hadn't been fighting on television that often. I think he went like 5 years without a fight on U.S. television before he beat Tim Tszyu. So that was a big upset, and Tim Tszyu was very much on a upward the election. I mean, not the election, upward trajectory, I should say. And that was a huge upset, especially because of the manner in which he beat him in. But as big of an upset as it was, it's still about a level below Bruno. It's big. It was huge because of the manner in which he did it. But he was still a ranked fighter. He was still like Jermell Charlo's mandatory. His name was still known somewhat if you really followed boxing and like mandatories and things like that. So as big of an upset as it was, it's still not as big as Bruno. Bruno was the biggest. He said no glazing, but I have to give props when it is. Thank you, 12 threes. Thank you, appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's been a long journey here on YouTube. I've been enjoying it. I think I've been enjoying it more than ever recently. Especially here in Japan. I've learned, just in the month that I've been here in Japan, I've learned a lot about boxing in Japan. I've learned a lot about myself personally. I think I'm actually a different person, a little bit of a different person being here in Japan for this last month. Being honest with you guys. Looking really forward to 2025 and what it's gonna bring. BT could have to postpone the election. I don't know what you mean by that, man. Are you saying I could be in politics? I don't want to be in politics. I hate politics. I understand politics, but I don't like it. I don't really enjoy it. Tim Tszyu recently apologized to the public for the loss, and he's back on the grind now. He's got some climbing to do. Opataya, only guy holding Australia down, Paro lost. Well, Opataya and Sky Nicholson, if you want to talk about women. Those two. Tim Tszyu, though, another guy, like, people I've seen a lot of people since the loss to Fundura and Murtaladze have talked trash about Tim Tszyu. And what did Tim Tszyu do? Tim Tszyu fought the best. He's fought Brian Mendoza. He fought, good fighters on the way up. He fought Tony Harrison, former world champion. He fought Fundura. He signed to fight Virgil. He signed to fight Thurman. He fought Bakram, who was unknown but still a high level contender. And what have I seen people do to him? They'll shit on Tim Tszyu, but then they'll praise a guy like, I don't know, Jaron. And I like Jaron Ennis, but they'll praise Jaron Ennis. They'll praise Munguia. They'll praise Devin Haney. So it just is what it is. Full props to Bakram. The win over Tim was great exposure. It was, and if I was the commissioner of boxing, Bachman would be fighting Terrence Crawford next. Terrence Crawford would actually have to prove that he's a true top 154 pounder. Like, because, he beat Madrimov is a great win. I'm not trying to downplay the Madrimov win, but it's just like when you're Terrence Crawford, you have high expectations to live up to, and all he talks about is just fighting Canelo. That's all he wants to talk about is Canelo because you want to cash out. If you're gonna be at 154, fight another 154 pounder. What do you think about Charles Conwell at 154? I like Charles Conwell a lot. I think he's a fighter that's been very mismanaged in his career, and I'm happy that he's been getting a good steady stream of fights to build his career. And I think that he should get a Virgil Ortiz fight in 2025. Honestly, because Virgil ain't trying to fight a Boachuk again because he knows what's gonna happen to him in a Boachuk rematch because he knows what happened to him in the Boachuk first fight. So yeah, I think he deserves a Virgil fight, and I want to see his name get more in the mix. I know he fought yesterday. I haven't had a chance to watch Charles Conwell as of yet. I'm going to watch him today later on, but I'm happy to hear he won, and he's moving his career. That Russian dude that beat Tim was a real good fighter, though. Honestly, he might be able to beat Crawford. He's extremely consistent and a sharp fighter, and he's very strong. He's got heavy hands naturally, so he don't gotta load up on punches. So I would love that fight. Why not? Like, I don't like one thing I'm gonna tell you guys, and I want to see what you guys think about this. I hate when fighters accomplish a lot in boxing, and then you hear people say things like, "Oh, well, he earned the right to pick and choose to do what he wants." No, you didn't. Nobody earns the right to pick and choose to just fight whoever they want. When you're in boxing, boxing is still a sport of competition, and if there's champions in your weight class, you got to prove yourself against those champions. So like, I don't like when people say, "Oh, Canelo can pick and choose who he wants because he earned the right," and I don't like when they say Terrence Crawford can pick and choose to fight who he wants because he earned the right. Nobody is above, not even, and not Inoue either. If Inoue stays at 122, he has to fight Merjon, even though I don't like Merjon. You guys know how I feel about Merjon. So nobody earns that right to pick and choose to do what they want. If you're in a weight class, you got to fight the other top guys and continue to prove that you're the best over and over and over again until the day you retire. That's how boxing works. That's how you become a legend. That's how you go to the Hall of Fame, or how that's how it's supposed to be. Canelo is basically half retired. That's what he's saying when he says he can pick and choose, and that you're correct. He's half retired, and at this point, he just wants to go on. He wants to collect his money. So, William Skull, Bruno Suras. Well, I don't know, man. He may not want to fight Bruno Suras because he saw Bruno hit him with them French bricks, and he said that I could have knocked out Munguia, and this guy could. So maybe he don't want to fight Bruno. Who knows? Is France versus Mexico about to become the new rivalry in boxing? Because one of these Mexican fighters got to avenge the loss. Jaime Munguia out here setting Mexican boxing back 20 years. The proud tradition of Mexican boxing, getting knocked out by a French guy in Tijuana. Unheard of. BT, do you think Inoue moves up at the Goodman, or did Turkey make a deal for him to stay for Junto? I think he's going to stay at 122 all of 2025. I don't think he's eager to go to featherweight because there's a lot of tough fights there, and he understands. You got to give Inoue his credit. Like, Inoue understands boxing on a deep and profound level. He knows that that he treats every opponent with respect. That's why he always has great performances, because there's never a letdown. And I think Inoue understands, probably even to a greater degree than even I do, the challenges that lie ahead for him at featherweight. So he's going to allow himself to stay at 122 as long as possible. I think he's going to stay there. I think he fights Goodman. I think his next 3 fights are going to go as follows. I think he fights Goodman. I think he fights Goodman, Picasso. Oh, no. Goodman, Akhmadaliev, Picasso, Junto. Those are his next 4 fights. Goodman, some variation of Picasso, Akhmadaliev, or Akhmadaliev, Picasso, and then Junto. That's those are the 4 fights, and then that'll give time to for the featherweights, to the champions like Angelo Leo, Espinoza, Ball, and Fulton Figueroa winner. It'll give them a chance to sort out who's who, and you guys already know who I think the guy at featherweight is, who I think the best featherweight in the world is, who Ring Magazine thinks the best featherweight in the world is. Angelo Leo, you know what? I think that's fair. You know, I'm all about fairness. I'm all about guys having to earn their fights, and fighting Naya in a way is a privilege. So I think the featherweights should unify, but I'm not really too optimistic about the featherweights unifying because when I interviewed Bob Arum earlier this year, Bob Arum was on this channel on camera, and he pretty much told me, he said, we're not going to unify. We're not going to go ahead. We're not going to why have Inoue fight one champion when he could fight all the champions? So he's not going to fight he's not going to I don't think we're going to get Espinoza versus Angelo Leo in 2025. Honestly, I wish we did, but I don't think we're going to. I don't think we're going to get Nick Ball versus Angelo in 2025. I don't think we're going to get Espinoza versus Nick Ball either. I think each one of the champions is going to continue to fight other guys in the rankings and keep the belts until Inoue gets there. That's what I think. Because Bob Arum, and the reason why is because Bob Arum, if Bob Arum only has one featherweight, then if Inoue comes up and beats that one featherweight, he has all the belts. Now Bob can't fully control the featherweight division. But if Bob has two of the featherweight champions, he can control Inoue through the matchmaking of having different champions. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I think Bob Arum isn't so eager to match his featherweights up right away in unification fights. And truth be told, if you guys want the honest, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I already know who Angelo Leo is supposed to fight Kameda in his next fight. He had come out yesterday in an interview with this one reporter, Skywalker Boxing Media, and he said that the initial date was February 11th, which is what I've been told. But now Angelo Kameda has been pushed back to March 22nd, so I won't even be here for it, but it'll be March 22nd here in Japan supposedly. So he's gonna fight him if he's victorious against him like he should be. I already know who Top Rank wants him to fight next. I'm not gonna say who it is, but I already know what his next two fights are, and they're not against any of the champions. So I just think Bob Arum has his plans for what he wants to do, and him keeping half of the champions at featherweight with the belts is his way of controlling Inoue through the matchmaking and getting a bigger piece of the pie. That's what I feel. Espinoza is going to vacate. They're going to take him to 130 for Navarrete. That's what I would like to see. Two C and C plus Mexicans looking for that 130 to 135 star. Yeah, I mean, if Espinoza goes to 130, he could fight Venado Lopez. He could fight Vaquero. He could fight Eduardo Sugar Nunez. There's 3 Mexican fights that he could do that would all be attractive fights, that would all be fun, that would all be entertaining. So yeah. And then if Espinoza goes to 130, the WBO belt will go vacant, and I think Top Rank will make the Bruce Carrington Arnold K guy fight for the vacant belt. And then if Carrington comes to that fight, I think you're looking at maybe Angelo Leo versus Bruce Carrington unification. I could get behind that. I know they've sparred in the past. You know, I know Bruce Carrington has said some things about Angelo in interviews, and so be a good fight. Those are 2 of my favorite featherweights in the division, so I like that fight. Madrimov versus Virgil would be fire. Madrimov versus Boachuk would be too fire. Yeah, Madrimov versus Boachuk would be a great fight. That's the fight they should have made. Uzbekistan versus Ukraine. Jamel Charlo isn't getting in that 154 water again. Too much smoke there for him to come back after a long layoff. I'm not even sure. Is he even going to come back in any water? Like, I'm not even sure if Jamel Charlo will come back in any weight class. I mean, I don't think so. Think he got his Canelo money. He's good. MJ and Picasso aren't big fights. They aren't big fights, but Inoue is such a star that, he makes the fights big. So if he wants to keep all the belts at 122, he's got to fight Merjon. That's a necessity. And then Picasso could be his U.S. fight because Picasso is Mexican. He comes forward. He's game. He'll make for an entertaining fight. But, yeah. The Munguia fight was a little fast, but he stumbled, so it's kind of fair. He wasn't showing sturdy legs, so once you get up and the count is that close and you show any sort of signs of unsturdy legs, you eventually the ref wipes it off. So I'm not saying those guys are sea level. Somebody else said that Espinoza and Venado were sea level. I like Espinoza. I think Espinoza. I don't think Espinoza is an A level fighter. I think he's a B. I think he's a B fighter. I think he's good at what he does. I think he's a B level fighter. The only A-level fighters, let me see, at featherweight, at featherweight, honestly, at featherweight, I only think they're, right now, of the champions, I think there's only one A-level fighter. That's Angelo. I think Angelo's A-level fighter. I think Espinoza is B. I think Ball is a B. I think Figueroa is actually teetering around B plus on his best night, maybe A minus on his best night because he's a crafty little body puncher. I'll say Figueroa is a B plus. Fulton's a B right now. He could be an A if he can find the form he had at 122. He could be an A level fighter again, but because he was at 122, but he's a B. He's a B at featherweight for the time being. If he finds his super bantamweight form, he's an A fighter again. But it's gonna be hard. Venado is a C level fighter. Venado Lopez is not a C level fighter. Venado Lopez has C level technique, but he's not a C level fighter because for what he didn't have a technique, he made up for with punching power. He made up for with it being very unorthodox. So these things make him a hard guy to beat. That's why he defended the belt 3 times. You don't defend your belt 3 times on accident, and he beat some decent fighters when he was defending the belt. So he's a B fighter. I think he's B. Yeah. C like you got. I think people are too quick to put the C level label on fighters. Like a C level fighter. Let me see. Who is the textbook definition in boxing of a C level fighter? A C level fighter would be someone like a. Let me see. Who's a C level fighter? What weight class? Like honestly, like I like him. Like Alexis Rocha would be like a C. Like Alexis Rocha is a C level fighter. Like a good fighter. Solid, has good stamina, but very flawed in a lot of departments. He's a C plus. That's what I think. I think like Rocha would be like a good example of a C level fighter. Jimmy Kelly, who Munguia fought, is a C level fighter. Angelo Leo versus Nick Ball is the best fight at featherweight right now. I got Angelo by KO, but it's a good fight. I think it's a tough fight because Ball is so short and you're punching down, and Angelo's not like a short featherweight, but he's not a tall featherweight either. I think it's a difficult fight just because Ball is so durable. But I think I agree with you. I think it would end in a stoppage. I think and I have an idea of what punch it would do it, but I don't want to say it here. Hergovich is C level. Nah, he's not. Hurricane Hanky's not C level. He's not. He can't be C level. He's a B. He's a B. He's a B level fighter overall. I would say his stamina though. His stamina is C level. He needs to get his stamina in order. His stamina is definitely C level, but the skill wise, he's not a C level fighter. With no defense, you can never be over a C fighter. So is William Zepeda. What is William Zepeda? I think William Zepeda is a B minus. Because he has bad defense, but he has like C level defense, but he has A level conditioning, so he's B minus, but he's not like A plus puncher, so he's a B puncher. Bob Ronald Rabesi to win. I don't think he wants Inoue facing Espinoza, but now they need to find a good replacement that won't lose the WBO in a defense. Why wouldn't Bob want him Inoue to fight Espinoza? Inoue will listen, and this doesn't apply to just Espinoza, but any fighter, and this is my opinion when it comes to Inoue against like tall, lanky fighters with a long torso, like that are built like Espinoza. I don't think any fighter who's built like an Espinoza could ever be an Inoue because of the fact that number one, that's just too much body to hit. I think Inoue would eventually stop Espinoza to the body. Like it would be a longer version of what happened to Jamie McDonald in that fight. That's what I think. I just don't think that type of fighter could beat it in a way because it's too much body to hit, and then most of those fighters need to box from the outside. And the thing is, most tall fighters who are built like that don't have like fast feet, so I don't think they'd be able to close the gap or keep up with Inoue. Inoue could control the real estate of the ring with his feet. Any fighter who's built like Espinoza or Jamie McDonald with that frame will lose to Inoue. That's what I think. to beat in Inoue, there's a couple things you need to have, but I just don't. Espinoza has some things. I just don't think he has like just the way he's built. It's built for Inoue to get a knockout. That's what I think. Zepeda, his motor and output gets him a C plus. A 89 is a 89 still a high C? Well, no, 89 is a B. 89 is damn near an A. So 79 is I don't know. In America, in American education, 79% is a C plus. So Zepeda should have a title shot as mandatory. Is he stalling? I'm not ready. I mean, I think there's reason to question the injury to his hand, or his arm or whatever. We'll see. We'll see how he comes back. I don't think it matters. I think Shakur Stevenson's gonna beat him no matter when they fight. So he's just, my opinion, he's delaying the inevitable. It's hard to give Canelo any credit for beating Munguia now, if we're being fair. It is. His decision to not fight Dea Benavidez is looking worse by the day. Nah, Inoue will get up, and then Espinoza, he hangs that jab out there too long after putting it out. That's what I'm saying. Like I think Espinoza is very leaky with that jab. He hangs it out there too long, and I think he's going to close the gap and hit him with right hands and left hooks to the body. That's how it's going to go. So we'll see. But I don't even think Espinoza will be there. I think even talking about Espinoza, and in a way, it's just hearsay. Like, that fight won't happen because Espinoza won't make the weight long enough. He just won't. So we'll see, man. Boxing is going to be exciting this week. We got Fury Usyk coming up this week. That'll be interesting to see how Fury adjusts. I hope he pulls it off. I'm still a big Fury fan. I would love to see Fury. My man Ryan Burke says, "Did you watch the Rozicki fight?" I did. Shout out to the fine folks at Three Lions Promotions. Chris, who reached out to me via WhatsApp. He sent me a promo code to the fight. I watched it, and my scorecard to the fight was 117-111 from Ryan Rozicki. I was actually very impressed because when I think of Ryan Rozicki, I think of a TV fighter, an all action fighter, a guy that comes forward and throws a lot of hard punches and looks to brawl. But in this fight, to me, he showed a lot of growth. He showed the mental discipline to box behind a patient jab. He showed some slickness defensively. He was outboxing Yamil Peralta, who was an Olympian with deep amateur pedigree. I thought it was 4 rounds to 2 after 6 rounds, but he pulled away at the end, and then towards the end of the fight, he started to fight like he normally fights. With the punches to the body. He was finding a lot of nice, educated shots to the body. And I thought he won, and I went from thinking what I came away with was the fact that Ryan Rozicki went from being a guy that I thought was just a fun fighter to watch who could win a world title against the right opponent to a fighter that I genuinely feel now is one of the best cruiserweights in the world and can be any cruiserweight in the world. Because if he can show that same mental discipline to box that pace for 7 to 8 rounds, and then change his game plan up, show that type of versatility against an opponent, like a tricky opponent against Peralta, he can do that against anybody in the world. Great performance. Got a draw, should have been champion, but just a world-class fighter, honestly. So yeah, thank you guys from Three Lions Promotions for sending me the promo code to watch the fight. Great production value, great product. Looking forward to hopefully one day being able to go to Canada to cover some boxing, because I've been to Japan twice, but I've never been to Canada. So I in 2025, I think it's time to start going to some of the North American countries like Canada, Mexico. Seeing what the boxing is like in these countries. And yeah, thank you. Canelo carried Munguia just like Bud said, as we all saw last night. I don't know, man. I just don't think Canelo Alvarez is I don't think he carried him. I just don't think he has the stamina anymore. And that's why he won 12 rounds in Berlanga as well. Shout out to my boy Hyro. He says, I've been telling you about Al Heyman being a blessing. He is. Al Heyman gets a bad rap for things he doesn't do as a promoter, but, he takes care of these fighters. Pritchard Colon been a vegetable for 9 years, and he paid his medical bills for 9 years. So, respect to him. I'm looking forward to seeing him versus Badou Jack. I think he knocks out Badou Jack. Ryan Rozicki should stop Badou Jack. Badou Jack is not a full-fledged cruiserweight, and Badou Jack got beat by he got a gift decision against a blown up light heavyweight a couple years ago. So I think he should beat him and stop him within 9 rounds. How good is Shawn Porter's fighter Marquise Taylor? Now, it's so funny that I'm getting this question because first and foremost, I've been a Marquise Taylor fan for 2 years. I saw him fight 2 years ago when he came in as the B side, and he fought the Cuban Yoelvis Gomez, who was a highly touted prospect, who was pegged to do big things in boxing. And Marquise Taylor went in there and frustrated him and outboxed him and outworked him and showed a lot of physicality and took his O. And Yoelvis Gomez is still rebuilding to this day. So I've been a fan of him for 2 years. And funny enough, funny story, guys. True story, personal story here on True School Sports. 2 years ago, as some of you guys may remember, I was supposed to work with Shawn Porter and Shawn Zattel on a project called Amateur Boxing Champions, which was supposed to be a big app that would cover amateur boxing. Shawn Porter wanted me to work with him and Shawn Zattel on this app, and it never really nothing really ever came of it. But in late 2022, I went to Colorado Springs to the USA Olympic Training Center with Shawn Porter and Shawn Zattel to interview the whole USA Olympic amateur team. So we interviewed like Jamal Harvey. We interviewed a lot of the Olympians on USA this year. We interviewed them. Jamal Harvey, Amari Jones, who won the medal, Jairo Gonzalez, and Roscoe Hill. And the funny thing is, when we were interviewing Roscoe Hill is from Houston, Texas, like Marquise Taylor. And Roscoe Hill fights very much like Marquise Taylor. So I told Roscoe Hill in front of Shawn Porter and in front of Shawn Zattel, hey, Roscoe, you fight kind of like Marquise Taylor. And at the time, this is 2022. So at the time, Shawn Porter didn't know who Marquise Taylor was, and neither did Shawn Zattel. And it's just funny now that Shawn Porter trains Marquise Taylor because I'm the one who kind of told Shawn Porter about Marquise Taylor, and he probably doesn't even remember this, but I remember it very clearly. So I think it's a good relationship. I think Marquise Taylor looked really good in their first fight together. Marquise Taylor is a fringe contender right now. He's going to be probably enter the top 15 of the middleweight rankings in the next month or so because he just won his fight, and the WBC had promised him a top 15 ranking if he won his fight over the weekend, and he did. And he's a good fighter. He's a 6'3" middleweight with very good stamina. He's very physical on the inside. Decent body puncher, really good stamina, does not get tired, has above average punching power, and I think with Shawn Porter in his corner, Shawn Porter is going to take the things that Marquise Taylor already does good because he's 18-1-2, so he's already had he's already a good professional fighter without Shawn Porter. But with Shawn Porter is going to take his strengths and he's going to amplify them to the greatest degree. He's going to become a more physical fighter on the inside. He's going to become a better body puncher. He's going to become a more well-conditioned fighter. And I think he's going to use his height even better as well because Shawn Porter improved his jab as his career went along. I think the same will be the case for Marquise Taylor. He's going to be a tough out for a lot of guys at middleweight. I think a lot of guys at middleweight, he's gonna upset some guys at middleweight next year in the top 15. Mark my words. Good fighter. Always liked Marquise Taylor. Happy to see him, get Shawn Porter in his corner, not just for his career, because it's going to get Marquise Taylor more shine having Shawn Porter with him. But I'm happy for Shawn because I know Shawn Porter like on a personal level. I've known Shawn Porter on a personal level now for 2 years, at least 2 years, almost 3 years. And Shawn, I could tell with Shawn, like he was just trying to find his feet with life after boxing. That's why he's been doing the commentating and just doing all these projects and staying very busy. But I know with fighters, like, because I have a lot of friends that are fighters. I know with fighters, once they retire from boxing, there's nothing that can feed their soul quite like being in the boxing ring. And I know that Shawn Porter, as much as he was enjoying commentating and being around the sport in that regard, it's not going to feed his soul as a fighter the same way it would, fighting. So the closest thing to being a fighter is being a trainer. And Shawn Porter is a guy that likes to help people. He helps a lot of people. He's even helped me in my boxing career in many ways, more ways than one, covering boxing. He's just a helpful person, a helpful and resourceful guy who's willing to lend a helping hand. And they have a good chemistry, and he really cares for this. He really cares for this young man, Marquise Taylor. He likes him, and I think Shawn Porter is going to be an amazing trainer. I think Shawn Porter is going to be one of the best trainers in boxing. I think Shawn Porter, if he sticks with it for long enough, I think Shawn Porter will be a Hall of Fame trainer. I think he'll be a better trainer than he even was a fighter, because Shawn Porter understands the psychology of boxing. so he knows what buttons to push with a fighter. I think Shawn Porter has so much big fight experience to lean on because look at all the guys he fought in his career. He was an elite fighter with elite experience, and he's an elite communicator, and he has an elite understanding of the sport. And when you blend all these things together with a very humble personality, a guy who's very like in the middle, he doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. I think you had the ingredients for a guy who could be a great trainer. So yeah, I'm the Marquise Taylor Shawn Porter thing is one of the most interesting stories in boxing going into 2025. I mean, Shawn Porter, in my opinion, should be a and this may be an unpopular opinion. I think he should be a Hall of Famer because you literally can't even tell the story of the welterweight division. We just had this conversation on the last live, but he fought everyone there was to fight. He stepped up and he fought everyone. Sometimes he won, sometimes he lost. There were some fights against big names that I thought he won. Like I thought he beat Keith Thurman. Um, he was beating Terrence Crawford and giving him the toughest fight of his career before he got stopped. If he doesn't get knocked down by Errol Spence, he probably wins that fight too. He was in all these fights. He was a multiple division, multiple time champion. So he's been great for boxing, and I'm hoping that Marquise Taylor can go ahead and do the business and become a world champion, and Shawn Porter can be a Hall of Fame a world championship trainer as well. So yeah. If Top Rank goes to the zone, it will remove a lot of hurdles, preventing a lot of quality fights. It would, but boxing would get way less exposure because now you don't have the ESPN platform covering boxing. So there's pros and cons. The pros are you got all the most of the promoters under the same roof. The cons are boxing will get less exposure in the mainstream than it's already getting. So, you know, take that for what it is. If you lose a competitive fight, it doesn't matter. Fans still like you. If you get KO'd by some cab driver, you lose. Exactly. Like losing a split decision to Keith Thurman in an entertaining fight in front of 4 million people on CBS. That's okay. That's acceptable. Losing to Kell Brook in a close fight, losing to Errol Spence in a highly entertaining fight, action fight. Those are acceptable things. But losing to Bruno Suras, a light punching French guy that nobody heard of in your own hometown, that's unacceptable. Shawn Porter is a classy guy that wins. That win boosts Crawford's resume a lot. It just kind of takes a shine off of it, given he retired immediately after. But you have to rate that win for Crawford. It does, because Shawn Porter gave everyone hell. Everyone who fought Shawn Porter got hell. Now the question is Kenny Porter a Hall of Fame trainer? I think if Shawn Porter's Hall of Famer fighter who fought Kell was just so much superior than I think so. I think pre-Golovkin Kell Brook was on track to be the best welterweight of his era, and that's an unpopular opinion. I think pre-Golovkin Kell Brook would have beat Keith Thurman, would have washed Danny Garcia, would have beat a lot of guys. With Inoue extended for January 24th, are you still staying in Japan by then? And what was your thoughts when Goodman pulled out? So, thankfully for me, like two days before the Goodman thing even happened, I had already made the decision that I was gonna stay in Japan until February. So I already knew I was staying in Japan until February. So I wasn't all that affected by the news, but I was pissed off because the fight was coming up and I wanted to see the fight. So that pissed me off. I had to wait another month. And I had to hope Sam Goodman doesn't get injured again or Inoue doesn't tear his bicep. So that, I was very, very pissed off. But thankfully, I'm still going to be in Japan. So, thank God. It's funny how you think Kell Brook is Hall of Fame material in your mind, but guys like Keith Thurman, who was unified because Keith Thurman had a Hall of Fame trajectory too, Hyro. He did. But after he beat Porter and Danny Garcia and unified the division, he got complacent. He went to Nepal. He met that girl. And he lost his edge, and that's what it is. Honestly, Keith Thurman and Kell Brook, in my opinion, they both had a chance to go to the Hall of Fame, and Keith Thurman and Kell Brook probably could have been one of the big super fights of the welterweight division. That's what I think. So I have a high opinion of Keith Thurman. I just think Kell Brook was more talented than Keith. Then he came up on the technician Bud Crawford on July 29th. Yup. Errol Spence got the shots one by one like Canelo did. He did. It's respect. Speaking of which, I'm glad the WBO denied Spence to fight. Was it Fundura? Keith Thurman lost all his powers when he shaved his head. Yeah, Keith Thurman was like Samson in the Bible. He lost his power immediately upon getting a haircut. So that's what it is. Earl Spence did a lot for boxing, bro. Earl Spence was doing it when PBC was on Fox. He like from a marketing and promotional standpoint, Earl Spence did do a lot for boxing. He sold a lot of tickets. He was one of the bigger and more relevant figures in American boxing. Only knock on Earl, and this is my opinion, only knock on Earl was just that he ducked Terrence Crawford for 5 years, and then he got the brakes beaten off of him when they fought. That fight wasn't competitive, and it was like vindication almost for like why he didn't fight him for 5 years. But other than that, other than anything that has to do with Terrence Crawford, I like Earl Spence. I'm a big Earl Spence fan. Outside of anything that had to do with Terrence Crawford, and when he fights Sebastian Fundora, I'll be rooting for him to win and come back and become 2 division champion. I thought Munguia had a good chin, but apparently not. Still blows me away. Canelo couldn't KO him with that Frenchman. That's boxing. Some things can't be explained. But it's the sport we love for a reason. It's the theater of the unexpected. BT, what is going on with Dominic Ingo? He was weird for drinking sweat, and now that I don't know, man. I saw people talking about that, but I haven't really looked into that whole thing with Dominic Ingo and the LGBT thing. But that, yeah, he was weird for drinking Kell Brook's sweat. That was pretty fruity. I would have ducked Bud my damn self, no cap. Well, he's not supposed to duck Bud Crawford. He's supposed to fight him, a little earlier than he did. Yo, that's a great way to put it. Some things just can't be explained. Yeah, like some things can't be explained. Like I can't explain certain things about my own life sometimes. Like I'm in Japan covering boxing. When I started covering boxing all those years ago, I didn't think I'd be in Japan, but through I guess hard work and God, I don't know, we wound up in Japan multiple times and carved out a nice little niche for ourselves in Japan. So some things just can't be explained. They're beyond understanding. Spence was getting a fight with Fundura is worse than Gary Anton Russell getting a shot at Ryo. It is because he got absolutely waxed by Terrence Crawford and is getting an immediate title shot. And at least Gary was he was competitive in his loss, but it's the same thing. King Berlanga is just showing he's levels above all these bums at 168 except Canelo, of course. Munguia is always a fraud. Caleb Plant, bitch ass is next. Berlanga in 4. Hey, that's the fight we want. Give me Berlanga versus Plant or Berlanga versus Bruno Surace next. He needs to prove himself in 2025 because he came to survive against Canelo. Everyone was giving him all this credit for surviving, but not old BT. I didn't like that fact that he didn't try to win. If the plan is to fight Nakatani, do you still mind he stay at 122, or do you want him to immediately go up as soon as possible? First of all, Nakatani, like I've been saying, Nakatani has 3 other world champions at bantamweight that are from the country of Japan, and it will not sit well with me if he gets out of the bantamweight division without fighting at least one of those guys. So he got to unify and try to go undisputed at bantamweight before he even thinks about Inoue. And Inoue at 122, they're like, these fights remaining are just stale. Like, who the hell wants to see him fight MJ? Nobody wants to, like, very few people want to see that shit. So I would like to see him go to featherweight after the Goodman fight, but I know that's not going to happen because Inoue really knows the challenges that are up there, and he wants to take his time and make sure he's 1000% ready because he knows what's waiting for him up there. So yeah, I think we're gonna get Inoue at 122 for another year. Edgar Berlanga would not go to light heavyweight. I think Edgar Berlanga at light heavyweight would be absolutely 1000% positively disastrous. Because he's not a guy that wins fights off boxing skills. He wins fights because he can punch, and if he can't hurt these guys, he's not gonna win. So yeah, man. Make sure you guys smash that like button. It's your boy BT, Brennan Taylor, the untouchable, True School Sports Empire, live again. Talking that boxing, talking about Bruno Suras absolutely positively, making sure that Jaime Munguia got exposed in Mexico. So yeah, smash that like button, super chat, subscribe, all that stuff. Why did Chocolatito duck Casemiro and Nietes and guys that had world titles in his divisions? He didn't fight he didn't fight Nietes because Nietes was busy having draws. He was too busy getting a draw every fight with Ioka. Um, I don't know. That's a question for Carlos Blandon, his manager. What are your thoughts on Ryusuke Nishida's fights today? He finally gets a knockout. I saw it and I did a short. I did a short on it. Good body shot. He don't get a lot of knockouts either, but he can place his shots and he's accurate, so he can get knockouts. I think he'd punch harder if he moved up a weight class because he's a big guy for 118. Good win. I would like to see Junto fight him or Seiya Tsutsumi. In a way, will wax MJ. It's a dangerous fight. It is because even though like Merjon's got heavy hands, so like you can't let him land. His right hook is one of his money punches, and his straight left hand, obviously, like most Uzbeks. So Inoue has to make sure those punches don't land and make sure his defense is tight and punch in between the shots. But it'll be it'll be explosive when they fight. It just Merjon hasn't done anything since losing to the Paulus. He hasn't done a damn thing. When Munguia hit the floor, the whole arena was in disbelief. You would have thought Munguia knocked the dude out. What's crazy is they didn't even have a French translator to do a post fight interview with this guy, because that's how much of a cherry pick this was. Let me see what. Dillian White apparently looked washed and old in his fight today. I didn't even see it. I know he fought. He was fighting Ebenezer Tatith, who's this African that Daniel Dubois fought many like back 5 years ago when he was a prospect. That's who he fought, and if you look bad against him, it's time to pack it in because that guy is very low on the totem pole of heavyweight boxing. What punch did Neri drop Inoue with? It was an overhand left. Merjon doesn't really throw a lot of overhand lefts. He throws more like the straight left, left cross, right hook. Those are his punches. So like with Japanese fighters, you gotta be able to throw a high volume of punches. You have to have tight defense to block their sharp punches down the middle. You have to be able to fight in angles and pivot off to the side to make them reset their feet. And you have to have a high work rate to make them push them on the back foot. And yeah, like Inoue, with Inoue, you have to be able to push him back and then loop those shots the way Neri was for a prolonged period of time. I don't think Akadalia can do those things. How bad did MJ duck Fulton to the point where you're always saying MJ doesn't deserve it anyway? Tell us all about it. We need to know. So essentially, after Fulton had defeated Danny Ramon and defended his titles, so Fulton had the WBC and he had the he had the WBO title. MJ had the IBF and the WBA titles. So it was 2-2. After Fulton beat Ramon, he was calling for that fight. And Fulton literally they were negotiating that fight. They were calling for that fight. And he literally went on a 1-year layoff trying to become undisputed. He actually hurt himself going into the Inoue fight because he wanted to fight Merjon. He waited for Merjon. And he went on a layoff only because of Merjon, which then affected him, I think, going into the Inoue fight because he wasn't able to be as sharp as he needed to be for a guy like Inoue to give himself the best chance to win. And even before Fulton, even before the Stephen Fulton fight, Merjon won a very close fight, some say controversial, with Danny Ramon. A close fight that I think warranted a rematch. He didn't want to give Danny Ramon a rematch, right? So that was strike one. The Fulton, not fighting Fulton for undisputed, was strike two. And then right before he fought, right before Merjon was getting ready to fight Marlon Tapales, he was starting to talk about Inoue, but he had not fought Fulton yet. So if he would have won the Tapales fight, he probably would have got the Inoue fight, but he lost to Tapales. So it was on him. The only reason he didn't fight, listen, the only reason Merger Akhmadaliev didn't fight Inoue was because of Merger Akhmadaliev not being good enough to stay in position to fight Inoue. That's the stone cold truth. So I don't like Merjan because Merjan has done the bare minimum. He's overrated. And he has been, for the most part in his career as a champion, a disgrace. So yeah, that's what I'll say about that. Now, Stephen Fulton, he fought everybody there was to fight at 22 before fighting Inoue. He should get some respect. More respect. When are you going to respect Vidal Riley? It's funny how much big Chamberlain was 2 years ago and how Riley is the A side and the English champion. Well, okay. Well, he's the English champion. English belt ain't shit. English belt is the second least important belt in the UK. He never became the British champion. Isaac won the British belt, the holy grail of championship titles at the regional level in Japan. So that's number one. And when will I respect Vidal Riley? Never. Vidal Riley sucks, and I can't wait till Isaac Chamberlain beats the shit out of Vidal Riley. Ryosuke Nishida is a low-key a great body puncher. He knocked out his opponent with a body punch this weekend and knocked out Emmanuel Rodriguez. He did. That's what I'm saying. Like Bruno, Suras, Ryosuke Nishida, they're not fighters with big-time punching power. But what do? They beat you the hell up. They know how to place them shots and knock you out. So you got to be careful. He ducked Fulton and the Paul's rematch, and he would have already. Yeah, he ducked Fulton, the Paulus rematch, and he ducked the Danny Roman rematch. And Hyro deserves credit. He told me about Merjan years ago. He did. That's the one thing. One thing about Hyro, he don't like Merjan, and he don't like Eddie Hearn either. So there you go. There's that. Who do I hate worse, MJ or Munguia? That's a great question. I want to preface, I don't know these guys in real life, so I don't want to say I hate them as people because I don't know them. But I hate how they've been moving in their careers. That's a great question. It's hard to pick. I would say, it's hard. I'll go with Merjan. I'll the slight edge through Merjan. Yes, English champion is still regional belt. British champion puts you through to the EBO or exactly. So, and look, Isaac Chamberlain, I mean, I've come to the grips with the fact that he probably won't be a world champion, which is fine. But he's fought all comers. He fought Chris Miller-Smith. He fought Okoli. And he's gonna beat Vidal Riley. I'm not worried about Vidal Riley. What do you think about Richard Torres versus Moses Itama? It's a good fight. USA versus England, two young heavyweights. I don't think Frank Warren or Bob Arum are making that fight anytime soon because they both have. They're both going to take the time with those guys. But it'd be fun, Moses is very fast, power punching southpaw. Torres is more of like a workman. That would be a really entertaining fight. Nick Ball needs to fight a mandatory. He's got to stop fighting washed up 122 pounders like Ronnie Rios and Naldo Haney. Yeah, like he should be fighting Bruce Carrington or Mirko Cuello or Odabek Komatov. Something like that would have been fine. But like Hyro said, he's fighting someone that's a little past it. True TV says, I hate Munguia. He said, but I dislike Tank more than MJ. More than MJ? Nah, I can't say that. I like Tank. Listen, Tank. I know Tank fights some mismatches, but he don't listen. A Bruno Suras would not happen to Javante Davis. He would have knocked a Bruno Suras caliber opponent out. I'll tell you that right now about Tank. True TV says BT they covered your fight. No, I paid myself. BT gets to where he needs to get to on his own dime. BT don't ask for the. BT's not sponsored by these promotional companies. That's why BT can say what he wants because BT's not controlled by nobody. But MJ deserves an in-a-way fight despite all they're saying being true. He does. See, not like once Sam Goodman pulled out again, I had the now I'll keep it consistent with my stance on boxing, valuing mandatories. So I have to if after Goodman, if Inoue wants to stay at 122 and wait for Junto, he gotta fight a Merjan, whether I like it or not. That's just fair. Tank would beat that French guy right now, no matter the weight. Facts. I'd bet a stack on that right now. He probably would. They should make that fight next. Gervonta Davis versus Bruno Suras, the face of American boxing versus the face of French boxing. Biggest fight in boxing. Yes, I get it, but it makes it more annoying that Tank avoids good competition. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. See, in a perfect world, I'm hoping Keyshawn Davis beats Baranchik. I want to see Keyshawn Davis versus Gervonta Davis. I think Keyshawn Davis actually has a better chance to beat Gervonta Davis than Shakur. Does MJ have a shot against Inoue? He does. Unfortunately, as much as I hate to admit it, he does, because Inoue keeps his head right there on the center line, and Merjan is going to go throw. He's going to be throwing heavy shots. He's going to be throwing them bricks at Inoue. So if Inoue don't tighten his defense up or use his legs to evade the shots of MJ can hurt Inoue. MJ is a bigger puncher than Luis Neri. I'll still say Inoue beats him because I don't think Inoue's going to lose, so he goes to featherweight. But it's a it is still a dangerous fight. Munguia's Chinny Chin Chin finally got exposed. How would have Munguia versus Golovkin would have gone in 2018? Golovkin would have knocked him out in 6 rounds or less, the same way Bruno did. Maybe probably worse. But Hyro, you got exposed worse than everyone, because when you were hating on Isaac Chamberlain for the longest, you were talking about, oh, he needs to fight Shev Clark. Shev Clark lost to some guy yesterday. Then you were talking about Munguia being in his real weight class and he's gonna beat these guys. He lost to a French guy, so you've been getting, and then you're gonna get the hat trick when Isaac Chamberlain beats Vidal Riley. So don't go nowhere when that fight happens. MJ's chin is weaker than Neri's. It is. He's not as durable as Neri, but he punches harder than Neri, so it makes for an interesting fight. Tank could face all these guys like Keyshawn, Shakur, De Los Santos, Tio, Rao, Sugar Nunez, and maybe down the line even a Stanionis. Now, Stanionis is far-fetched, but I would say everyone else is in play. And I would like to see him fight Keyshawn. Give me the Keyshawn fight. Because I think Keyshawn Davis could actually be a legit star, like an actual star. Personality-wise, all that stuff. I felt that Clark and Chamberlain were on the same level. And I was trying to tell you they're not on the same level. Isaac Chamberlain is a fringe world level, high level, British level cruiserweight. Clark was mid level, British level cruiserweight. You know, mid level. Didn't win the British title. Didn't fight nobody at world level. Isaac Chamberlain, apart from like Jack Massey was a bad loss. That one didn't sit well with me. But like apart from Jack Massey, who still fought at the world level, all the guys Chamberlain lost to were world level fighters. Okoli, world level. Bill Smith, world level. 2 world champions. Massey, top 5 contender. So those are the guys he lost to. He didn't lose to nobody in the UK that was domestic level, mid-level British guy. I love Keyshawn. That's the 757 homie. I don't know. Davis versus Davis seems like Hagler versus Hearn type fight. Shakur is going to do the... Yeah, but see, my thing is... My thing with Shakur is like... I know Shakur is going to bank a lot of rounds against Tank. But I don't have any faith in him on what he's going to do when he gets hit by a Gervonta Davis aggressive counterpunch. I don't have faith in Shakur. I think he's going to, for lack of a better term, like... Part of me wants to pick him by decision because I do think he does have the know-how to outsmart a Tank for 12 rounds. If there's a guy that can do it, it is him. But the other part of me is like, yo, Shakur's going to get hit and he's just going to bitch up and, Tank's going to stop him. That's that part. I'm very conflicted in that fight. As to where Keyshawn Davis is like, I know Keyshawn Davis is either going to get knocked out or Keyshawn Davis is going to really expose Tank to levels we never thought were possible. So that's why I want that fight. And it's going to be a fire fight. What do you think about the upcoming fight between Usyk and Fury? I think Fury. I want Fury to win. I wanted him to win the first one because I do like Fury, but I don't know, man. He has the body language of a fighter that I'm not counting him out, because he seems to perform better the more people count him out. But he has the body language, and he's talking like a fighter that wants to lead the game real soon. So I don't know. I think Usyk will probably win, but I want Fury to win. I really do. I really, really, really want Fury to win. But I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered either way. As long as the winner of this fight fights Daniel Dubois next, I'm okay. I'm okay. If Dubois beats Parker, as long as the winner fights Daniel Dubois next, I am A-okay. But yeah, guys, we're at the 2 hour mark. We're at the 2 hour mark. I'm not sure how much data I have left on this box right now, so I'm gonna go 10 minutes past the 2 hour mark, and then I'm gonna go get my day started because I didn't want to go outside because it's a little cold right now, but I gotta get some work done. So it's been good talking to you guys. We'll go 10 more minutes. We're at the 2 hour mark here on True School Sports. Smash that like button, subscribe, super chat. Trying to make sense of Bruno Suras beating up on Gervonta Davis. BT, do Japan boxers watch Gervonta Davis? Will Japanese fighters get into lightweight somehow? Gervonta Davis is one of the most popular American fighters in Japan. Most Japanese fighters I talk to, that's who they like. They like Tank and they like Crawford. Those seem to be the two popular fighters from America in Japan right now that they like. So, Tank, Crawford, not Tank, yeah, Tank, Crawford, and Lomachenko. Those are the three like non-Japanese fighters that Japanese fighters like the most. I'm about to call it a night, bro. I'm about to watch my Packers Justice. Okay, enjoy the game. Enjoy the game. Do I think Tank is gonna give Isak Cruz a rematch? He should. He should. I mean, Ryle beat Cruz easier than Tank did, so like that win's not aging well. Fury is a weird fighter that has to have fun to win, but he can't be serious. Yeah, it's because of his personality type. He has a very inspirational personality. He feeds off of like confidence. Another guy that moves in an annoying manner is Isak. Yeah, another Mexican fighter. I'm pretty sure. No, he's with Shawn Givens. Jeffrey the Pig says, BT, the Ryle fighting Russell. What do you think Hiroka should do next? That's a great question. What should Andy Hiroka do next? I haven't even thought about this myself. So you're asking the right questions here. It's a risky fight, but I would like to see Andy Hiroka fight Subriel Matias. That'd be a all action fight, barn burner. I want Usyk to win so he can retire and elevate Parker into a WBO champion and make him into. Oh, it'd be cool. That'd be nice. Yeah, Joseph Parker, man, it's been crazy seeing like how Joseph Parker has turned his career around. I mean, I remember when he was losing to guys like Dillian White and Joe Joyce, and now he's one of the elite again. So it's great to see. David says, I was reading a Mexican boxing site, and Navarrete said he's willing to face Cruz a few weeks ago. I'd root hard for Vaquero. I'd root for Vaquero too, because Isak Cruz so overrated. It's like not even. At least Vaquero has given us great fights. He's fought some top competition. Pitbull, Cruz, oh my God, he's like on the almost on the same level as Munguia, like the way he moves. He said he had to move all. That'd be hilarious if he goes 140 and beats up Isak Cruz. I would laugh my ass off. Did you see that Nishida just defended his title? What about and he wants to fight Nakatani? What do you think about that fight? That's a good fight. Nishida is a very, very sneaky puncher. Like, even though it doesn't reflect in the knockout ratio, he's very well rounded as a fighter. The only thing with Nishida is he's big for that weight class, and I know he missed weight for this fight. I think initially by 0.2 pounds on the second day weigh-in for the IBF. So he may not have a lot of time left, so that would have to be his next fight. I think it could be a good fight. If he's able to place those shots to the body on Junto and be the accurate puncher he is, he could give Junto a really good fight. Cruz's fake humbleness got exposed when he took that Ryle L. It did. And I was happy. I hope Ryle loses because of Robert Garcia. Why is that, Howard? Why do you hate Robert Garcia? Pitbull Cruz and Matias is still a good fight. It is. I would still like to see the all action Mexican versus Puerto Rican fight at 140. Makes a lot of sense. I honestly never liked Pitbull Cruz because they always talked about him as the Mexican Mike Tyson, and he wasn't punching like that. I didn't see the comparison. Um, Robert Garcia has become an overrated trainer, and now he's a manager. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say he's an overrated trainer. I think he's trained his fair share of world champions to earn his respect, but I think the management side of it really pisses me off because he's very good at picking fights. So like I can kind of predict like what he's gonna do before he does it most of the time, and it's normally not gonna be the toughest fight. But fair play to him. They managed Bam Rodriguez's career perfectly. With Kenshiro and Sego Yuriakuya unifying, who do you think Olas Kuaga should fight next? That's another great question. Um, I'd have to look at the rankings. That's 112. He's the WB what? Oh, I think he's WBO. I don't know. Maybe I'm not sure who he could fight next. I had to look at the rankings. Maybe I don't know. I can't think. Maybe he could fight. He already fought Jonathan Gonzalez. Maybe he could fight Ricardo Sandoval. How about that? Ricardo Sandoval. That'd be a good fight. Two Southern California fighters. Ricardo Sandoval has been one of the top contenders at 112 for a long time. Doesn't get no fanfare. Doesn't get no shine. I even underrated him. I just did a prospect review. I just did a video on him recently that hasn't come out yet, but it will be in a couple days. I'll go with Ricardo Sandoval. Ricardo Sandoval, Yankia Rivera, something like that. The thing is, Cruz ducked Valenzuela when Valenzuela was undefeated. Only after Valenzuela lost a couple of fights, Cruz jumped at the opportunity. Yeah, it's corny. Super, super, super corny. Just like Munguia. Yes, your criticism towards Pitbull is warranted. Yeah, and I'll tell y'all a story. I remember when I went to Houston. I went to Houston in 2021, June of 2021, to go. I was there with Angelo Leo to go support him for the fight against Aaron Alameda, and that was on the undercard of Charlo versus Montiel. And I remember Pitbull Cruz was staying like 3 doors down from us, on the same floor, and he's always looking mad. He's always looking mad as shit at the world, like he's angry about something. And I'm like, but then he would go and to the press conference and he would wipe that look off his face and be all happy and humble. And it just seemed kind of fake to me, honestly. Just seemed kind of fake, but good for him. He's made some money in boxing, made a name for himself, but he's overrated, very, very overrated, extremely. It's actually, the great debate is who's more overrated between him and Munguia, because they're both pretty overrated. They both have moved carefully, you know? BT is Dea Benavidez and Dea Morel, I heavyweight champion because they clearly no. They'll be all they'll be is just a mandatory for whoever wins Bivol Beterbiev. The light heavyweight champion of the world is Artur Beterbiev. That is the light heavyweight champion of the world. All these other interim trinkets that they have, it's not the same. Who should Mbili fight since Munguia just lost? I think an Iglesias fight would be awesome. Pacheco, if he beats Steven Nelson. I like that. I like that fight. And I don't think there should be a Munguia versus Suras too. I think Munguia should hold his L and Bruno should be able to move on towards bigger and much better things. Because he knocked him out in 6 rounds. I can't believe Turkey bought Michael Bentz's account. That I couldn't either. But it just goes to show you that the just about everybody in the boxing media is for sale. Not me, but damn near everyone else. Thomas Gunnerman Matisse arguably beat Pitbull Cruz and got robbed. Yeah, that was a close fight. A lot of people don't know about that fight, but you're right. Why is nobody talking about Rotres Curiel? Great fight last night. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch it. I heard it was a really competitive fight. I heard a lot of people think Rocha won by a round, so I have to actually sit there and watch the full fight in its entirety. But I knew it'd be a good fight, that their styles were going to mesh well, so shout out to them. But I don't have a lot to say about it right now. Did you see Inoue and MJ beefing on Twitter? I did. They were going back and forth. I agree, but I saw Chava said a rematch could be coming in 2020. Hopefully not. Hopefully Bruno will get a chance to fight bigger names than Jaime Munguia. And if they do the rematch, they gotta do that shit in France near the Eiffel Tower, and they gotta make Jaime Munguia eat 5 snails before he fights on fight night. Speaking of Matisse, he got a raw deal in that fight with Rocky Hernandez. I didn't even get a chance to watch that fight, but I heard about it. Yeah, he's had a tough career, Matisse, but he's one of the guys that, again, doesn't get a lot of fanfare. Fought a lot of people. He got a lot of people thought he got robbed against Luis Melendez. You know, he had some tough fights on Showbox years ago against like Rolando Chinilla, the Rocky Hernandez fight. I mean, he's had a career. He's had a tough career. You think if Lorenzo got in shape, you think he can make cruiserweight? Um, Possibly, but he's like Lorenzo Medina's a big kid. He's like 240, like he's a big kid, man, and he's still getting bigger. So I don't know. Cruiserweight? No, not cruiserweight. Maybe bridgerweight, but not cruiserweight. There was a lot of late fighting on the end rounds. Have you seen rumors that Turkey wanted Vladimir Klitschko to fight? I did. It was really really crazy. Munguia got exposed just like Boo did. Yeah, yeah. Demetrius Andre had to go to his third weight class. He had to go to his third weight class and fight the best guy in the division that Canelo and Munguia were too freaking scared to fight, and he got stopped by Dave Benavidez. So he got exposed, I guess, if you want to call that getting exposed. Munguia got knocked out by some French waiter that none of us heard of. You know, I'm not trying to disrespect Bruno. Bruno's a dog. Let me not disrespect the face of French boxing. He got knocked out by a middleweight who don't even have a big knockout ratio in his weight class. So I mean, yeah, I guess they both got exposed, but nobody in the history of boxing in the 21st century has ever gotten exposed to Jaime Munguia against Bruno. So whatever you got to tell yourself to make yourself feel better about Munguia getting waxed, then you tell yourself that. I seen that Matisse fight. I did not know that was Rocky who fought. Yeah, it was. It was. Big puncher. Rocky Hernandez, I mean, like, he's like a lot of these fighters, he's gonna get a chance because he's a fun fighter to watch, and he's Mexican, so he's gonna have a chance to get a big fan base because there's a lot of Mexican fans in boxing. But he's not really as good as advertised, and I think the fight they just made with him and Rene Talese Garon is a great fight, an amazing fight that everyone should tune into. I would favor Rene. I think Rene is a better fighter than Rocky. Fought tougher competition, but yeah, I think like Rocky Hernandez is not it either, you know. But guys, on that note, I'm gonna end the live. I've given 2 hours and 12 minutes of my time. I have other things I gotta go do. So listen, you guys take care. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel and the lives, and check out all the content. There's plenty of videos scheduled and whatnot, and more interviews on the way. I'm going to Tokyo on Wednesday for an interview. So 2 interviews actually. So they're pretty notable names in Japanese boxing, so you can guess who it is, and I'll tell y'all later on. But yeah, then you guys take care. God bless. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dania. So until next time, take care, guys.